Hey. Long time no see, guys. Welcome to Twisted Strategies, where we follow all the twists and turns wherever they lead. I am Melise, your fearless leader and host. Yeah, we got lots to talk about tonight. We got two subjects we're going to talk about. Bryan Kohberger is on the list of things to talk about tonight. That case, I wish we would get a trial date. My channel runs. Hey, girl. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. My channel runs on donations from people like you. There's a ticker that scrolls at the bottom of the screen. You can donate by Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo. I do read them because sometimes you guys have some funny comments, jokes, or even questions that I answer, and I love it. So you can donate, and I will read it. If you don't want it read, you want to be anonymous, you just put an A or an AN in where you would write, what it's for, and I'll just say it's anonymous. All right. So let me. Yeah, I'm sorry. I hope it goes away, Bree. Hello, Jack D. All right, let's see. Did not get a chance. I'm always running late. But my sister, I have no kids tonight. It's amazing. I've never had. That's like a long time. The last time I didn't have any kids in my house. My sister actually called and was like, "Can I?" And I was like, "Yeah, you don't have to ask me twice. Sure can. Let me pack their clothes. let me do that." So I did for her. Sorry. Come on, computer. So I actually saw today that for Bryan Kohberger that the county, I think it is asking for more money because of the Kohberger trial. So I don't know the way it works, obviously, in that state. But here, they basically have unlimited funds to do these trials. They don't have to ask for more money. So I just wonder, do they have a set budget for things like that? It's weird to me, that they would have to do that. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. Okay, hold on. It is weird to me. So yeah, I saw that and I was like, wait a second. I wonder if anybody knows how it works over in Idaho, because that's not how it works here. The amount of money that they spent for the Michael Chesna trial, which they had to do twice because it was a mistrial the first time, is freaking amazing. The amount of money they had to spend for that. And I know that there was no limit on what they had to be able to spend for it. So, is it your favorite topic? Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me just grab something. Hold on. What is, my sweatshirt? I'm like, what's behind me? My wallet, my sweatshirt. Okay. Oh, no, it's my sweatpants. That's what I'm wearing to bed tonight, so I can be comfy because I have the AC on. Hold on. There's my good pen, too. Oh, got it. Notebook. Got it. Okay. All right. Water is actually a good idea when it comes to no, that's the problem. There is no indication on when the Kohberger trial will start. And for me, I know in Massachusetts, it doesn't ever take that long to start a trial. I know there's been some, stalling techniques here. And there's going to be a problem with jury because they decided to send those ridiculous sort of questionnaires out to people in the county. And they mentioned Bryan Kohberger's name a million times. Have you ever heard of Bryan Kohberger? Did you hear that Bryan Kohberger killed the Idaho 4? If you want an impartial jury, you just told them that, that's probably not the appropriate questions to ask. And his attorney, what? It makes no sense. Hey. I don't understand. For me, they did so many stalling tactics in this. there's no reason to wait another year or 2 years to bring Bryan Kohberger to trial, right? Like, there's no reason. Like, the questionnaires alone are going to help. I think the tactic there was, we need it in a different county, right? Like, we can't do it here because they're not impartial anymore. Nobody's going to be impartial. Everybody's heard of Bryan Kohberger in the Idaho Force, so we need it in a different county. Well, the judge already said no to that once, so I don't think that they're going to change their minds, just like they tried to do that in the Karen Reed case, and the judge was like, nope, not happening. So then they tried it again in the Karen Reed case by saying, like, well, this courtroom doesn't comply with, constitutionality of where the witness box is. And the judge was like, Mr. Yannetti, you have tried cases in this courtroom. The one you're saying is unconstitutional and never brought up a single thing about it being on. Okay, cool. You guys want to go that route? We'll give you the really small one. That one's perfectly fine. The witness can see, everyone in the jury can see everyone right there. So we'll give you that one. So that backfired, because what they were really looking to do was have it taken out of the county, and it didn't work. So that just didn't work. But I mean, it's been too long to sit on this and sit on this and sit on this. So let me bring up this thing I saw today about the money. It's just weird. Like, I'm not understanding, like, why they need more money. I mean, obviously they're going to need more money, but like, it's weird to me that they need more money. Like, yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money. I mean, trials cost a lot of money. That happens. So let's read this real quick. Hold on. Let me get it up here. All right. This is the thing that I saw. So basically it says, boop-a-doo, and it's a picture, obviously, of Kohberger entering the courtroom when he got indicted. So an Idaho court is asking for a huge budget increase in the next fiscal year to cover costs associated with the Bryan Kohberger case. Kohberger, 29, is charged with 4 counts of murder, 1 count of burglary regarding the deaths of Kaylee Gonzalez, 21, Madison Bogan, Xana Cadoodle, 20, and Ethan Chapman, 20. The University of Idaho students were found stabbed to death in a rental home near the college campus in Moscow on November 13th, 2022. Now, that's over a year. Like, if we'd make it to November, you're talking 2 years ago. The search for a suspect captivated the nation. 6 weeks after the killings, police arrested Kohberger, then a graduate student at Washington State University at nearby Pullman, at his parents' home in Pennsylvania, after investigators pieced together DNA evidence, cell phone data, and surveillance video that they say tied him to the murders. The judge entered not guilty pleas on Kohberger's behalf last year, but a trial date has yet to be set. The Moscow Pullman Daily News reported the Lehigh County District Court is seeking to increase its trial expenses to $150,000 for the 2025 fiscal year. The court's 2024 budget for trial expenses, which include travel and lodging costs for jurors and bailiffs, was $3,000. Okay. The court has requested to increase its jury supplies budget from $3,500 to $50,000. The budget request to pay for travel costs of witnesses who testify in court was $25,000, also significantly higher than the $3,500 allocated in the 2024 budget, which means they clearly don't get a lot of high-profile trials. Kohberger's attorneys are seeking to move the trial, arguing that a fair and impartial jury cannot be found in Lehigh County due to the extensive inflammatory pretrial publicity allegations made about Mr. Kohberger to the public by media that will be inadmissible at his trial, the small size of the community, the salacious nature of the alleged crimes, and the severity of the charges. Okay, but they didn't do that in the Karen Reed case, so I highly doubt they're going to do that here either. Tanya Dodge, Lehigh County's clerk of the court, told Lehigh County commissioners that even if trials move to another venue, Lehigh County will have to reimburse the county where the trial takes place for juror costs. Okay. The Lehigh County commissioners are expected to adopt the annual budget later in the summer. Last year, prosecutors also asked for a bigger budget than most years due to the Kohberger case. Lehigh County prosecutor Bill Thompson requested $135,000 for trial expenses, an increase from the $15,000 that has been consistently budgeted in previous years. Said he and his office were trying to keep budget projections conservative, but we need to make sure we don't cut corners on anything with regard to making sure this case is handled properly. Well, I would hope not, since there's 4 young people that died here, like, right? I mean, weird, right? I mean, it's a horrifying case nonetheless. It's horrifying. Like, nobody should ever get away with something so egregious. Like, but the evidence here, like, they need something else tying this man. Like, I get that they have the touch DNA. Okay, cool. And then they took the DNA swabs. but there was no DNA found in his car, in his apartment, on his clothes. Like, obviously, he probably wasn't wearing the same clothes, and he was taking criminology. So, there's probably a lot of things he learned in that aspect that was going to help him out. Yeah, something nightmares are made of. Exactly. Like, that's exactly it. Something nightmares are made of. Like, makes no sense. Yeah. Jaywalkers and drunk college kids. Yeah. Yeah, not exactly, not quadruple murders. But I mean, they only had a budget of 3,000. Like, I'm baffled. Now, there's been a lot of stuff with the Kohberger case, even though there was the gag order, which is like, for people like me, gag orders are so annoying. I know they're necessary sometimes, but they're so freaking annoying when you want to know more. And like, I don't live in, Idaho, so I'm not going to get the goods like I've gotten in the Reed case. I don't know anybody in Idaho, unfortunately. I don't have any contacts in Idaho. So probably one of the very few states I actually don't have any contacts in. There's a few states, but they're mostly like some Midwestern or like middle America states. I have people all over the place, and that just happens to be one of them. And I don't really know anyone. So, but for people like me who don't live there and can't get inside information, it is obnoxious. Okay. It's obnoxious. Like, they keep saying, now, of course, the attorneys for Bryan Kohberger keep saying that the DA is like slow walking everything. But the defense is the one that sent out these ridiculous like questionnaires to the public. Like, I mean, if they didn't hear Bryan Kohberger and these people, like, they are now that you sent that out, and the way that you sent it out, it prejudices a jury. Like, you can't send them out that way, like that. Like, things you can't say and you can't say to help. Like, that's not going to help. Like a day ago, there was an article about when it could take place, and some criminal, attorney weighed in. And, I mean, if they're asking for it to be increased by 2025, I'm guessing that they're not guessing until 2025. So it's been 577 days since they died. Okay. So it's been 17 months. And then there's another delay. Like, the hearing on the venue change has been postponed 3 times. And you're potentially looking at like August for the next one. So like, everybody's like, when the hell is this trial happening? Like, and the defense attorney in this said he anticipates it could be another year or two. He said the way these proceedings are happening is unusual. He says typically in a death penalty case, trial would already be set, and then these motion hearings would come later. So he said typically an average death penalty case would take around 40 months. We're nearly to the halfway point of an average case, and we still don't have a trial date. He said it's frustrating to the family members of the victims. Oh, I'm sure it is. Absolutely it is. Generally, the belief is that the system is stacked in favor of protecting the defendant, and there isn't anybody protecting their rights. Really not the case from my perspective. Prosecutors are very cognizant, but again, like the judge, they don't want to take any actions. It's going to open up a potential appeal and flip the verdict, which would inflict more trauma on the families. So that's kind of like, again, what Judge Bev is doing, which is she's giving these people all the rope to hang themselves. Judge Bev is, especially the defense, at the same time, making sure that they have nothing they can appeal it on, right? Like, who did they have for phone data in the Kohberger case? I'm not familiar with who they had. Who did they have, though? Gray Hughes thinks the knife and clothes are too. Not necessarily in the river, but somewhere in half hour cells to explain the extra hour it took him to get back to Washington. I mean, if it took him an extra hour, where did he go, right? Like, where did he go? Where did he go? Where did he go? Like, where did he go? I mean, people like Gray Hughes, but I have not had a chance to check him out yet. But like, oh, okay, I have to look that up. I mean, here's the thing. My problem with this is the phone data, right? They said it's within, I can't remember if it was 30 or 60 miles of the tower it bounced off of that he could have been, right? Like, a lot of it is circumstantial. And like, there's no doubt in my mind that Kohberger committed the crime, right? I just think it leaves a lot of room for a jury to be like, right? Like, he shut his phone off, right? So he must have shut it off for whatever reason. Like, obviously he didn't want eyes following him, but why wouldn't you have shut it off the entire time? Like, why wouldn't you just left it at home every time, right? Like, if you're that smart, why don't you leave your phone on off every time you go into that area? If you're stalking the victims, every time you do anything like that, why don't you shut it off, leave it at home? So then it would be like a regular thing that you do is shut it off and leave it at home. And they wouldn't really have room to argue. Like, it's weird that you shut it off and left it at home, right? Like, for me, with a Stingray, it simulated a phone data that tracked us ping with the cameras. Yeah. All right. So, all right. Well, that's a little bit better. But the touch DNA, like, people have a problem with that. But what they don't realize is they also got a swab from him after that. So it's like they have a DNA match. It's not like you can have a problem with the touch DNA, but they still have a DNA match. So it's like, what are you really going to complain about? Right? Like, performance issue detected. Oh, mine was like using too much, I don't know, memory of my background tabs or something. Whatever. Thank you, computer, for telling me that. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is weird, cleaning your car with gloves on, but why didn't they find any DNA in his car? Like, you'd have to be a master magician or be wearing some sort of criminology coveralls that you could dump before you got back in the car, but you would have had to dump it somewhere in the vicinity, right? Like, how do you, no DNA, no hairs, like, you can clean it, but usually blood will get into weird places that you just can't clean, or hair in a place that you just can't clean. That's how people get caught all the time. So, like, it's just weird. Like, where do you go for that hour? And why did he not know the other roommates were there? Did he freak out and leave because he thought there wasn't enough time? Did he not know they were home? Did he see the one roommate who saw him through the door? Like, I have so many questions that I want fucking answered. And because I'm one of those people whose brain just is like, wait a second, hold on. We want to convict the guy, right? And you want to make sure that he stays in prison, that it doesn't get overturned, that he can't be found not guilty. I mean, look at the Casey Anthony trial. It can happen, people. Like, it can happen. And there was a lot of stuff that they had on Casey Anthony, but a lot of it was circumstantial. And I can see that happening again in this case if they don't get something that's airtight. And I'm not saying that the DNA obviously isn't airtight, the sheath. But if the defense argues like he gave it as a gift, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so of course his DNA is on it, but he gave it as a gift to someone else. Like, they could argue a million freaking things. Like, well, I think there are a lot of explanations for why the other roommates didn't call 911 right away. One of them, I think, was asleep and was on like the lower level, so she probably wouldn't have known until the next morning. And the other one, I think, locked herself in her bedroom, didn't really know what it was that she was hearing or seeing, but scared her enough that she locked herself in the bedroom. So she probably fell asleep, didn't wake up till 10 or 11. Probably if you're going to sleep at 5 in the morning, you're probably not going to wake up until that time. And I know that she did call other people before the police, which is weird. But maybe because, again, she might have been afraid, and she might have been like, hey, I need somebody to come over here. Like, I'm afraid to even come out of this room. Like, I don't know what's happening. Like, we don't know the answers to all that. Like, right. That's the other thing. Like, why? Why did he pass the door and not try to open it? Like, did he get spooked by something? I don't know. Like, security guard, didn't they find something on a flash drive? They did say they thought he might have been planning it for a long time. There's just so many questions, right? Like, in this, all we find out is the stuff from the filings. So what can we do, right? Like, the gag order keeps me from knowing a lot of shit that I want to know. right? Like, yes, OCD, that's me. Like, I need to know. Like, especially with true crime cases, like I need to know. Like the amount the amount of like research I've done on like serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer, like people, like, because I want to know what makes a person become that evil? What makes a one human take another human life, and not just one, but them over and over? I can't imagine hurting a fly, never mind a human being, like innocent human beings. Some of these people stalk their victims and they're completely don't even know them. So it's like, what, like, why, right? Like the human psyche or the psyche of serial killers, like they're starting to study their brains and stuff, but it's like they haven't really found anything huge that ties them to be why you're a serial killer. But like, is it your upbringing? You're just an angry person, like, or is there something just wrong since birth with you in some way? Like, I don't have the answer to it, but it's a fascinating thing to try to understand. I'll tell you that much. Like, I swear to God, if one day somebody took my Google searches, they'd be like, lady, how many people did you kill? I'm Googling, like I'm seeing a new case and I'm like Googling how that could have happened and like how many feet it was from here to there. And like, God, my Google searches would look like I was a serial killer. I'm sure most true crime junkies Google searches would look like they're serial killers. Maybe, I guess they like, I've watched a lot of interviews with serial killers. Okay. Not that he's a serial killer, but I've watched a lot of interviews with, he killed 4 people. So technically he's a serial killer, but I think it has to be like in different instances. But either way, I've watched many interviews and they say they get this sort of like adrenaline rush and this burst of energy while killing someone. And it's like a sick thing to think about, like how you could get a burst of energy, right, about killing someone. Like that's effing creepy. Like, but I've heard that all of them in these things over and over and over and over say these same things, right? And it's like, what does that even mean? You get a burst of energy and like, and then I guess it's like a high they come down off of. So it's like, was he coming down off that high after he had killed 4 people? So he just left? Like, because you left 2 roommates alive. And if you had been stalking the place, you know how many roommates are there and how many possible other people are visiting or staying over. You would know that if you had been stalking them all that time, right? Like, you would know that. You wanted to feel how it felt. Right. Ooh. Yeah, see. Like I was thinking about a profile too before they caught him, because it took a while for them to catch him. I talked to my husband about it many times back then. And I was like, what the hell? Like, what could this, it was just weird, like how close I was to like who, like the kind of person he was. It was fucking nuts. I was like, he has to be smart, he has to be intelligent, right? Can't be stupid. Would have been caught by now. But just the way he went in there, came out, killed 4 people in a very short period of time, and nobody saw or heard anything. Didn't leave really anything in the house other than the sheath to say. And at that point, we didn't know about the touch DNA. And also, we didn't know where the bodies were positioned. So Kaylee and Maddie were basically cornered in that room because the door basically hit the bed. So, like, if he entered the room, they're stuck. There's nowhere else for them to go. They wouldn't have had time to open a window, right? Like, there's nowhere else for them to go. Like, they were essentially stuck there with the murderous psychopath. Like, oh yeah, that's right. She had moved in. The theory is he'd been planning it and Dylan had just moved in. He didn't know she was there. And if he came in through the ground floor, he passed a lot more. Yeah, we did pass. If he came in through the ground floor, a lot more than one door. I think if I had to guess, I would say Maddie and Kaylee would have been his targets. And maybe he just came across Xana and Ethan. That would be my guess. But again, like, oh, I mean, committed doesn't mean you're a serial killer, or, you know what I mean? Like, I worked in a prison for the criminally insane, and not every one of those people is actually criminally insane. Some of them are just faking it so they don't have to go to a regular jail for like petty crime. That doesn't really tell me much, but It was definitely, oh, the Zodiac. Oh God. That is one that I have studied extensively, the Zodiac. That one was, I remember that. Yeah. I mean, I tell people off, but not all the time. I don't. I do not agree with them tearing down that house. That house should have stayed right where it was until the end of that trial and until they knew he was going to jail for life. My email. Okay, hold on. Like that, I don't agree with them doing that at all. I never did. I was outraged. First of all, um, that house was given to the school, and the school couldn't do what was right for the families. Like that really fucking pissed me off. Like, really. Let's see. Mm. Huh. Well, they must have followed up on that tip, Frank. They had to have, right? Like, they had to have, because why else would he say, like, oh, I'm not going to talk to you anymore? I mean, that means they followed up on that tip. So, huh. So at least they answered you, you know? Like, oh, you work in mental health too? I didn't know that, Frank. Me too, man. Well, not currently, but that I did it for a long time. Addiction and mental health. Um, Let me see. Well, I mean, yeah, if you look down like where the roads are and stuff, like if they hadn't like, for me, the police don't ever really like listening to people like us, especially podcasters. They don't take any seriousness in that we have anything to add, right? Well, we just didn't decide to be police officers. We very well could have been, and detectives at that. But some of us chose other paths. Like, so to just disregard what people have to say is stupid, especially if it's valid. So for me, it's like I've run into this before where you're like, all right, well, like, hey, you might want to check out this because this is right past where that would have happened. So maybe you want to check the cameras there, or maybe someone there would have seen something. And the police are like, oh, thanks, but we got this. Like, good, I appreciate it, but like, we know what we're doing. Like, and then boom, magically they happen to just show up there after not being there for how long or even bothering to ask. Like, so I think you're going because I said so. I don't think you're going. Like, because yeah, which means they probably put together where his car, like that video and his car, and got the plate. Right? That's what I would guess. Like they got the plate. Like, ugh, it's awful. So Ethan's parents wanted it gone. Yeah, but it did become a magnet. But at the same time, it's important if you can do a walkthrough with a jury for them to understand how he would have went where he went and ended up where he ended up, basically. Yeah, they can do a 3D model, but it's just not the same as actually seeing it with your own eyes. So it's like, I don't agree with them taking it down. I think, and because some of the other families wanted it up, so it's like, what you get to, you pick which families are more important. Like at that point, like if it was already up, I'd say leave it, because there's many things the defense can try to do now that they took it down that you'll never be able to effing prove. And that, like, I mean, the one thing that sticks in my head from the Kohberger case that I will probably never get out of my brain is the blood coming from like the top of the foundation. Like that is just horror. It's harrowing. Like that will probably haunt me for the rest of my life. And I've seen some really bad, way worse than that. For some reason, that just one image is something that sticks out to me in my head from that case. It's just so horrific, and it just speaks to how horrific a crime happened in that home, right? Like, I mean, hey, you should. Some people, you can be a PI in states you don't need a license, like, and some, if you just study under a PI, you can get a license that way. Right. Maybe he would have got away with it if that was the case, that he actually got to that point, right? Like where he switched his plates. You never know. Like, yeah, I mean, money certainly does move our world, that's for sure. Because without money, what does anybody have? Nothing. You gotta have a place to live, you gotta have food, you gotta have, costs, electricity, power, gas, insurance. Like everything, especially here in the United States. They just want to pork you for every effing penny you have so that you just can't do anything. Like, I mean, they usually clean up the scene. They don't usually some places leave it, but like normally they clean up the scene. They just want you to get the layout and sort of understand how it happened. They don't usually like put the evidence. Like, I mean, sometimes they do, but like, I mean, you never know. There could have been things that they missed in that house, and now we'll never know because it's gone, right? Like, some houses stand years and years later and they come back because the case has gone cold, and they actually end up finding evidence that solves the case. So it's like, I think back to those and I'm like, I just don't think it was a good idea to take that house down. Like, okay, Ethan's parents wanted it down, but Maddie Mogan's parents and Kaylee Gonzalez's parents didn't. So where do you draw the line on which one of those families are more important? Which ones? You know what I mean? Like, you can't decide which one of those families are more important to decide to take it down or leave the house out. It's ridiculous. I think they should have left it where it was. Like, I think they should have. Oh, Kaylee's dad? He's a trooper, that guy. He is a freaking trooper. I give him all the credit in the world because I don't know. Like, I can only imagine the pain that man is in. And I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could do it. But he has been such a champion for his daughter and his daughter's friends. Because Maddie was like family to them, like, and let's get real. Like, Steve, he pointed out very real issues with the police, like very real issues, like that they didn't do things they should have done, or that they weren't keeping the families. That is the one thing that I have to criticize the police for when it comes to missing persons cases or murder cases. If you know that the family isn't like a suspect, like, I get that you have to keep the integrity of an investigation, okay? But at the same time, I think there should be a way that that the police can disclose more than just a teeny tiny bit to the families, okay? It's not right. Like, these police can go and read all these files, everything about their kids, and they're left in the dark to wonder, like, to just wonder. Like, I don't think I could do that. I would, if that was my child, I would literally be out there being my own fucking detective and figuring out everything they figured out. Because there's just no way in hell I'd be able to sit back and do nothing and then wait for them to tell me or not tell me, because oftentimes they don't tell you shit. Nope, not doing it. Even in missing persons cases, you can bug them and bug them and bug them and bug them. Believe me, I've done it. Bug them and bug them. Got any leads? You got any leads? You got any leads? Is anything happening? Is anything happening? Have you learned anything new? Oh, well, we got some information, but it's still cold. Like, well, what information did you get? Because if they don't tell you, right, like, there are things that, like, maybe if they found out, something would click in your brain and you'd be like, oh, yeah, like, I didn't even think of that, or I didn't remember that, or like, maybe that has something to do with this. You can't put those pieces together for them because they can't tell you. It makes cases harder, especially in like missing persons cases. If you know that people are cleared from having anything to do with the disappearance of the family, I think there should be more communication. So one thing that irks me, the families deserve to know. My friend Miguel's family, his mother Myrna, deserves to know what the hell is going on with her son's investigation. I would like my friend found. He's been missing since 2006. He's from Massachusetts. He went missing in Portland, Maine. And I'll tell you, because he wasn't white, he was brown, there wasn't a ton about it. His mother had to do the work to get little programs and news, and she tries at least try to do the once a year unsolved Massachusetts whatever, and even that, it's hard to get these people to do the case. Like, you can never solve it if you can't jog people's memories, right? One of the reasons I started this channel, like, I've done Miguel's case and I'll do it again. Like, I'm hoping to jog someone's memory from Portland, Maine from that night. Somebody knows what happened to Miguel. Someone knows where Miguel is. And I would like my friend Mickey to be laid to rest, because clearly he's not alive. That's very clear. If he was alive, he would have called someone by now. Especially since 2006, I'm going to go with. He would have called. He had children. He has a family. He has friends that care about him and love him. And we have no idea where he is. No idea. They checked a retention pond last year. That was the last thing I've heard from the police, is the retention pond. And they didn't tell me how they got some sort of tip about this retention pond. Where is he? I don't know. There are so many cases like Mickey's case of missing people all over the country. Like, all over the country. I've done the grid searches for people, for Miguel. I've done the grid searches for my friend's mom, who went missing in 2019. And it's, you're looking for evidence or remains at that point. Like that, that's what you're looking for. You 100% know. And for me, it's unfathomable to not have answers for this long. And like, some people go years and years and years and years without hearing a single thing. 20, 15, 20, 30. Some people die before they ever find out what happened to their missing loved one. And I just wish there was a better way, right? Sandra Crispo's been missing since 2019, my friend's mother. When I did that last search, I was going down an embankment with her daughter. It was right on the beginning of the pathway, and we went down the embankment. And all I could think was, oh God, I don't want her to be the person that finds anything, because no child should have to, right? So I was just praying that if anything was found, it would be by one of us and not her. But I'm going to tell you, when you know someone who's gone missing, you find yourself looking in weird places, like going into random woods and near ponds and lakes and old abandoned houses, and you're just looking for anything, like, at that point, right? Like, and oftentimes the police won't let you use a cadaver unless you find some sort of evidence, a shoe, a purse, a pair of pants that they were last seen in. Like, if you find something like that, then they'll give you the cadaver. Oftentimes the police also won't work with other agencies if you try to hire another agency to try to help you find a missing person. And the police will say, we're not helping you in any way, shape, or form, and we won't work with you, won't give you any information. Like, that doesn't help either. They're not helping anyone. You should be willing to work with any agency that's trying to look into a missing person to find that person. Do you guys remember? I think it was Texas, right? And there was like a bunch of cars in this one body of water. And the police had been tipped off that someone who had been missing for years and years and years was in that water. That car was in there. And they went and they checked. They said, nope, not there. Nope, not there. Sorry, not there. So Adventures with a Purpose went out. I remember this one. Located the car, located the license plate, called the police again. And the police were complete assholes about it. Yep. Complete assholes about it. Well, we don't have the funding to be doing this. And, we know there's a lot of cars in there. Okay, a lot of cars means there's probably missing people in those cars, just like there was when they pulled this young man. I think it was a young man. And his family was standing by while they pulled this car out with his remains inside. How long did he sit there when the police said they looked? You clearly didn't look well enough because it was right there. And how many other cars are in there? They said they just don't have the budget. They don't have the budget, right? They don't have it to be able to look. How many other missing people are currently sitting in that body of water, and the authorities just don't have the money to do it? But then you get mad when someone else comes in to try to help the family. You can't have it both ways. And the cops are being complete douches. Like, that's one of the things that like really irked me about that was like, okay, so there's like probably 8 or 10 cars in that body of water, probably some missing people in it, and you just don't give a shit. You just don't care. It's just bucket. We don't have the money, so we're just going to leave it all there. How many times has that body of water been checked for this young man, and he was there the entire time? Couldn't have checked that well, could you? Diver went down, took a picture. Like, it would. So, like, that's that shit that irks me, Yeah. And I'm going to bet, obviously, there's other places, right, Frank, where there's, where there's bodies sitting in cars and other places where they're just like, oh, we just don't have the money to go in there and take it out, right? And then so Adventures for a Purpose at the time was like, all right, well, we'll do it. Like, we'll get it out. And they're like, no, we got this. Like, and they were being like rude to the family. Like, oh, we don't think he's in there. He's like not in there. Even though they were like the tag. They already have the tags for the car. They went down, they looked. Like, well, no, like still being an ass about it. Like, bro, you're bad at your job. Don't be a cop. Like, resign right now. You're terrible. This is a family looking for their missing loved one, and like you have to be a dick to a company that came out to help them. You're a dick. You're a freaking dick. Like, it is, right? Like, it is. Listen, like I said the other night, if it would help to go to any of these places, I absolutely would. I think it's more helpful to have the families ask you if you can put the word out, or ask to come on and talk about their loved one. I think it's probably more helpful to have people hearing it and trying to gain information and leads than it is to stand outside a place where people died. If there was some sort of value in it, then I would do it. If they were asking me to come down for whatever reason, even just moral support or whatever, like, yeah, I would do that. Absolutely 100%. But I don't see the point in just doing it just to do it. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe to get like pictures, but you would get the pictures and leave. Like, or most of the time they're already online of like the front of the house or something. Like, I mean, the news is going to do that anyway. So it's like, but again, you have to be mindful if people live in the house, being respectful of not being on their property. Like, that people, like some new people could live there now, like obviously not at the Idaho 4 house, but you know what I mean? In other places. I don't know what he did in Moscow, but looks he went there. Oh, I'm sure. I mean, do you guys remember the Gabby Petito case? And Brian Laundrie's street was a fucking circus. It was a damn circus. And the one thing that I will criticize is you guys had cameras, okay? And you let him get in a car and leave and you didn't follow him? Oh, well, he looked like his mother. I'm sorry, that's not an excuse. It's definitely not the same size as his mother, okay? That's the excuse, of course, that the police in Florida gave, that he looked like his mother. You had cameras to surveil him at neighbors' houses, and you let him leave and go kill himself. He unalived himself because you guys didn't do your job. It's that simple. And maybe they would have gotten more answers if he was alive. Maybe not. But that cowardice letter that he wrote, we know is not truth in any way, shape, or form. It might be his demented version of the truth. But he was clearly an abuser. And did the cops, while they were on that road trip, make a boo-boo when they got call-ins that he hit her? You should know a domestic violence situation when you see one. They're always going to try to cover for the abuser right away because they're afraid. They're afraid of what's going to happen later. Right, great surveillance. Like, great surveillance, guys. You guys did an A++ job. Bang up job over there. Like, bang up job there in Florida. Like, those are the missteps that drive me nuts, dude, because they could have been avoided, right? Like, you guys let Brian Laundrie leave. You let him leave. It's that simple. You let him freaking leave. Like, you were surveilling him, but not actively surveilling him. And your excuse is he looks like his mom. Like, I'm sorry, what? What? That is, and again, in that case, if it wasn't for a blogger, they wouldn't have gotten the tip that they got where she was and found her the way they did. That was simply from a blogger, like having the van that they had in their blog. And that's how they were able to figure out whereabouts that she would have been. And that's how they went down to find her. So it's like, tips from people like us, not always a bad thing. You know, it depends. Are a bunch of random people sending in a bunch of things that don't really matter? Like, that's one thing. Yeah. And you can't overwhelm them either, because then if they have too much stuff, they'll never have time to go through any of it. Right? Like, never. But maybe he was wearing pink. Maybe he was wearing pink. I can't remember. What I do remember is if he left with a backpack, which he clearly had, and all that stuff, nobody went, wait a second, doesn't look like he's trying to take off. Even if it was Roberta, wouldn't your brain go to like, where is she going? What she's doing? Let's find out. Like, I don't think they were actively watching the tapes. I think they watched them after. Right? No, he clearly was not right. Unfortunately, that's not the way domestic violence works, though. We know when to leave. It's about having to plan to leave, so you don't get killed. And sometimes the person just snaps before you can do so. You know, like, it's that simple. And also being young, I was young when I dealt with my abuser. I was very young. And it was hard. I had to plan and escape. And at the same time, try to plan something that wouldn't get me killed in the meantime. And that doesn't happen overnight. And everybody thinks that you can just like call a dove shelter and like, boom, you got to play. No, you can call a dove shelter right this very second. And you know what they're going to tell you? They're full. Call back next week. Call in a few days. And then when you call again, they're going to say, we're full. Call in a week. Call in a few days. They're full again. And that's how it goes, round and round and round. There are not enough places to house women and children, or even men of abuse, that are trying to get out of these abusive relationships. And nothing's quick. And when dealing with abuse, like, it needs to happen now, because every minute you stay is a risk. And unfortunately, that's what happened in the Petito case, is she ran out of time. I don't think she knew what to do, right? Like, she was clearly upset in that tape from the police, and I wish they had intervened in a better way other than just separating them for the night. Like, I think they made a big boo-boo there. But again, lots of lawsuits going on with a lot of these. Lots of lawsuits. Like, I don't know. Let's see. I want to pull up. Let's see. I love when they have these mini trials. It's ridiculous. But some states do this stuff. So the cell phone expert testifies, missing data benefits University of Idaho murder suspect. So Ray, the guy that Frank was talking about, a cell phone tower analyst. I don't know why you would have, okay, whatever. Said at an evidence hearing that what he has seen so far appears to be exculpatory to Bryan Kohberger, although that could change. A cell phone analyst suggested at a pretrial hearing, and this was written May 30th and 31st, 2024, so just recently, that he'd been stymied by law enforcement's disorganized data collection and record keeping in the case against Bryan Kohberger, the graduate student accused in the stabbing of 4 Idaho college students. Ray, who Kohberger's defense team plans to call as an expert witness at trial, said his review of the evidence provided by the FBI and police so far shows not all of the cell phone data extracted from Kohberger's phone around the time of the murders in 2022 was mapped. He further testified that it's crucial that he receive all the AT&T source data and related information for him to verify, given that prosecutors in Ladakh County are pinning Kohberger to the location of the killings in part by his cell phone use and cell tower records. It's a terrible practice to justify probable cause with these very detailed records that give breadcrumb-like trails for individuals and then not map it, he said. Because of the piecemealing of the data, because of the missing data, because of the data I'm reviewing that's incredibly inaccurate, everything that is missing is absolutely in benefit of the defense right now, Ray testified, adding there are other reports that are missing that I can't tell you are benefiting of Mr. Kohberger or the state. He added that it's unclear why certain data is unavailable. Is this human error? Is it accidental? Is it intentional? What he has seen so far, he said, appears to be exculpatory to Kohberger. He's a former police detective in Arizona, I guess. Testified he typically has been an expert witness for prosecutors in criminal cases. His expertise has previously come under scrutiny. I want to see that. So what about him is under scrutiny? Let's see. Ray was typically worked with prosecution. Let's see. Okay. When Bryan Kohberger's lawyers filed an updated alibi defense last week, and this was in April, suggesting cell phone tower data will show the man suspected in the slayings of the 4 University of Idaho students was not in the area of the crime scene where they were killed. They said they planned to turn to an Arizona-based cell data analyst for key testimony. It wouldn't be the first time that Ray has been asked to be an expert witness in a high-profile murder trial, although he said Friday that out of the more than 100 times he's testified in state and federal cases, it's typically been for the prosecution. Now Ray's involvement in the case of the 4 college students fatally stabbed in their off-campus apartment in November 2022, which continues to stir speculation over why someone would commit the gruesome act, is putting a spotlight on his expertise after past scrutiny over his credentials. Ray declined to address the Kohberger case as a judge issued a gag order last year preventing many involved from speaking publicly. It takes competent experts with adequate experience to interpret call detail records. Where the challenges come in is where there's a different level of experience, he added, and some of these records can be extremely complicated. A former Gilbert, Arizona police detective founded ZX Corp, a company specializing in cellular geolocation mapping, in 2014. In the courtroom, Ray has found himself and his mapping software tracks under questions about reliability before. I've seen in previous cases where his credibility has been brought into question, said Mark Poff, a cellular technology expert and former sheriff detective in El Paso, Colorado. Poff testified for the defense in a 2022 hearing related to the case of a man accused of stalking an ex-girlfriend, but the judge barred prosecutors from using Ray's software data. District Court Judge Juan Villasenor ruled that ZX's tracks mapping was inadmissible and based on a sea of unreliability after other experts found the technology to be problematic. For one, the court doesn't find Ray credible, the judge wrote, adding he inflated his credentials, inaccurately claiming to be an engineer. He went on to say that Ray has no qualifications, licenses, or credentials to support calling himself an engineer, and there's no evidence that Ray's taken any engineering classes. Villasenor also took exception with how the track's algorithm wasn't open to scientific scrutiny. While Ray stands by his formula, it hasn't gained traction in the scientific community, the judge wrote. The methodology and algorithm aren't published or subject to peer review, and they've been routinely labeled as junk science by the relevant scientific community. Ray said on Friday that he agreed with the defense and that there was inaccuracy with the data, but the case was an anomaly. He said he stands by the product. Okay, so it seems that the guy inflated his credentials. Like, you know. Yeah, he sure the hell did. He sure did. Like, sure did. Like, that seems like they told him where to go and how to get there. Like, you know? No, I just straightened it. My hair's not straight. Thank you, though. It's not, my hair's crimpy and curly. I have a mix, so I just straightened it this morning. But thank you. Yeah, the judge ripped him a new a-hole is right. They said basically his credentials were junk, that he's not an engineer, that he claims to be an engineer, but he has no engineering credentials, and that his software has not been peer reviewed. Now, in the scientific community, if your shit can't be peer reviewed, then it can't be, nobody else can say whether it's good or bad. So, I mean, if you want your stuff to gain traction, you'd want it to be peer reviewed, you know? It might be the lighting, because my hair's always black. I was born with just dark black hair. So it's probably the lighting. It's just always black. And even when I dye my grays, I dye them with black dye. So the only time I ever do anything is usually at the bottoms, where I'll do like a blonde ombre sometimes. They were talking about the case, a different case as an anomaly. So I'm not like the Colorado. This was the Colorado judge that ripped him a new asshole on it, and was basically like, it's junk science. What he's using is complete junk science. Now, I'd be interesting. Thank you, Liza. I'd be interested to see what the FBI says in their data. Like, and why is he claiming it's not all there? Is he just saying that because, like, he's not reading the data correctly? Or is there actually data missing, and why? More questions. Like, I mean, this case has more questions than answers with the Kohberger case. It just has more freaking questions than answers. Like, it really, really does. And I want the goddamn answers to it. And I want them now. Like, instant gratification, please. I want it, and I want it now. I'm one of those people that, like, needs to know. I need to know the answers to these now. Thank you, Emma. Yeah, I mean, listen, I have 3 daughters. I've talked to my daughters about all of this. They know mommy bear will come kick that door in right off its hinges. I've actually done that twice. One time it was my neighbor and downstairs, and another time it was my friend who had locked herself in the bathroom with the children. So I got my ass right on over there. I kicked that door right off its hinges, dude. Nobody would open it. She couldn't come out to open it. He wouldn't open it. Kicked a hole in the door. Like, a huge hole in the door. But that's not here nor there. But that's the shit I don't put up with. My daughters know that, like, if there was anything ever going on domestic violence wise, you know, no. Thankfully, my oldest daughter is the only one with a boyfriend. And he knows that Mama Bear will end him. So he's a good kid. He's a good kid, and he's very respectful. So, yeah, scream as well. Screaming. Make sure you get someone's attention. Sometimes, though, it's better to play the smart psychology game to stay alive. So it's the situation. But my kids are all very smart. Shocker, huh? Familial DNA, yeah. I think it will be too. But again, they've used familial DNA in so many cases now. I mean, where they really started using it was the Golden Gate, whatever, that murderer. And they caught him after so many years from familial DNA, from mapping basically his tree. Like, yeah, it is slow. It's so slow. And the whole theory of speedy trial, there's no such thing as a speedy trial, because you also have the right to have a fair trial. In order to have a fair trial, you have to have all the evidence, right? Like, so it's like, are you getting a fair trial? Like, if you do a speedy trial, like, you know, and a lot of people waive their right to a speedy trial, you know? So I don't know. Like, for me, it's like a lot of these cases bring way more questions than answers for me. And if we're talking 2 years out for at least a year or 2 years out, and it looks like at least 2025 for the Kohberger case, based on what they're asking for in finances for the case, looks like they wouldn't even be able to do it until they got that money for fiscal 2025, which would be at some point this year, probably September. But they're still not going to get it. So I don't know. For me, there's more questions than answers from this case. And I want the answers, and I want them now. Why did Bryan Kohberger go in that house? Why did he leave the 2 roommates alive? Why was the touch DNA on there? Like, just why? Like, why? Just tell me why. Also, the gag order kind of like kills all the good. Did he sell the company for millions? I don't know. Who would buy a company, though, if it's junk science and if it's been criticized as junk science? I'm not buying that company of geolocation mapping. I mean, usually, there are very big companies that do geolocation mapping, like geolocation warrants or something they use in almost pretty much every murder case nowadays because they want to know where your ass was. Where were you when this happened? Like, that's be the first thing I would do if I was ever accused. I'd be like, hey, I'm voluntarily going to tell you to check my geolocation, please. Please. Thank you very much. Like, please. Like, I want you people to know where I was. You can't accuse me of crimes. Thank you very much. I do not want to be accused of crimes. All right, hold on. Let me bring up. Hold on 1 second, guys. So there was something the other day, not the other day, it was like 12 days ago or so, that it says state prosecutors in the University of Idaho student homicide case relied on a federal grand jury to obtain dozens of subpoenas to build their case against the suspect, Bryan Kohberger. It was revealed for the first time at a hearing Thursday. So this was 12 days ago. As many as 71 sealed federal subpoenas produced potential evidence, Laydow County Senior Deputy Prosecutor Ashley Jennings disclosed in court in the case against Kohberger, who is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and faces the death penalty if convicted. The materials collected from those subpoenas have all been turned over to the defense, she said. Kohberger's public defense team said it wants the subpoenas themselves and demanded that the judge in the case order the state and the federal government acting on its behalf to turn them over. The federal jury, overseen by U.S. Attorney's Office, led to what could prove to be pivotal evidence at trial and is included in the probable cause affidavit for Kohberger's arrest. Let me see. So basically, they want to see the subpoenas. I would want to too. They used a subpoena to get one of the most critical pieces of evidence in this case, and they know that, and they're going to use that. Lady's name is Elisa Massoth, one of Kohberger's attorneys, told the court at one of 2 scheduled hearings Thursday. Massoth did not specify which piece of evidence against Kohberger that may be, I'm guessing the DNA, and declined to provide the date of that federal subpoena in the public hearing. What I can tell you is that for the majority, we did state search warrants, and we received many of these records that way. Well, okay, it had to have been the DNA because it was state to state, and that would be federal jurisdiction. So I mean, you're right about that. There are, I mean, too many bad actors. There definitely are. But I would still, I mean, geolocation, like, I don't know. How do you fuck that up? I mean, not saying that you can't fuck that up, but how do you fuck up somebody's geolocation? Like, I don't know. You're right though. Like there are like it was. But I'm guessing so the subpoena they want is got to be for the DNA because the DNA is the only thing that they would have had to get a federal warrant for since it's over state lines. And they took the father's trash, I think, to get the familial DNA. Because once it's on the curb, it's public. It's not yours anymore. Like, so they took that to match the touch familial DNA.
Get a plate.
Okay, let's see. Why are there French fries in all of these? Somebody tell me why there's French fries in all of these at a Chinese food restaurant. I'm confused. What do you guys get? Pork fried rice, chicken fingers, beef teriyaki.
Got a rice plate.
Yeah. I don't know. I have no monies. He wants Chinese. He has bunnies.
Oh wait, I think that's
enough for that. But all the plates had French fries. Has anybody else seen that at a Chinese? Like half of the plates were like French fries and pork fried rice, French fries and spare ribs, French fries, and like what? What? If I wanted French fries, I'd go to Wendy's. Like, what do you mean? Like what? What the heck? What? Like that don't make no damn goddamn sense. But it seems to me as if it is the federal warrant for the DNA is what they mean. Like,
come with that?
Don't they already come with it?
And pork fried rice.
I think. I'm always in for white rice. I love white rice. Okay, yeah. So this is the thing I was just looking at, you guys. So this is, yeah. So they're just going off, like he returned an unanimous indictment against him. Seated the grand jury in the county in May 2023 exclusively to review the Kohberger case. The grand jury confidential prosecutorial tool returned a unanimous indictment against Kohberger on the 4 murder charges and 1 count of felony burglary. So the U.S. Attorney for the District of Idaho, Josh Hurwitz. Why are all these people's names start like, okay, Josh Hurwitz is the U.S. Attorney for the District of Idaho. Josh Levy is the one here. And Josh Levy is a shady fuck, right? Like, I mean, is everybody a U.S. attorney named Josh? Like, I mean, that's kind of weird. Are you going to be a U.S. attorney? Okay. Maybe he's the next U.S. attorney. I don't know. They're all named Josh. Like, what the hell? Like, but Josh Levy's a shady fuck. Like, I'm sorry, but when you have to write a text message to a defense attorney that started a FBI investigation that says, hey, guys, the news is going to come knocking, and I'd appreciate if you didn't tell them that we work together. That's fucking shady, bro. That's some shady shit. Like, I don't trust you fucks. That's some shady shit. Like, no, thank you, sir. Like, first of all, to allow a defense to open up an FBI investigation, that should set off alarm bells for anybody. Does that mean every defendant on planet Earth can just say it's a conspiracy and point fingers at people and call the FBI and go, hey, FBI, I got some contacts. Hey, FBI, we're a well-off white family. We're saying it's a cover-up. We're gonna need some help here. They can just like call in the troops, like, hey, help us over here. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, but I've never heard of such a thing.
Be expecting a phone call from
Chinese food place is going to call me. The investigation shouldn't have started with the defense. It's that simple. Shouldn't have started with the defense. It's not a thing. Like, usually they open investigations, you know, from somewhere else, from law enforcement, from, you know, tips. Like, definitely isn't usually the defense that opens a FBI investigation. That's for sure. Absolutely insane to me that they were allowed to do such a thing. More than 100 warrants, it says right here. More than 100 warrants were obtained by Moscow and Idaho State Police detectives in their investigation into the student homicides that shocked the rural college town, the state, and the nation. The FBI assisted in the investigation, including with producing DNA evidence that police and prosecutors said links Kohberger to the crime scene. A separate closed-door hearing was held later in the day, Thursday, so the two sides in the case could make arguments before judge over sealed evidence record. Okay. The defense aimed to have some of the DNA records from the FBI's use of an advanced police technique known as investigative genetic genealogy, which again, we've heard of, to be made public, which prosecutors opposed. Of course they fucking did. But the revelation Thursday said that the U.S. Attorney's Office helped obtain evidence for the Kohberger case is yet another wrinkle that further emphasizes the level of federal involvement in the high-profile case. During the 3-hour early afternoon hearing, Kohberger's defense lawyers said they're working towards filing several motions to suppress search warrants and evidence against their client, largely based around the timeline of police work leading up to Kohberger's arrest. He was taken into custody in Pennsylvania at his parents' house 7 weeks after the student's deaths. Additional information, including the dates of those federal subpoenas, will help the defense establish that timeline and support their attempts to have evidence tossed from the case, Massoff said, which would block its use from an eventual trial and consideration by the jury. That timing is everything for the defense's case, she added. We're desperate to find out the timeline in this case and when the state knew what and when, she told the court. There's no question that motions to suppress are coming. Through the legal process known as discovery, Kohberger's defense is also seeking from the prosecution more video footage that police obtained from around the Moscow community in the days and weeks after the killings, security and surveillance camera footage that was acquired during the investigation from approximately 79 area businesses and 10 private residences contributed to investigators' suspicion of Kohberger as the alleged perpetrator. Ann Taylor, Kohberger's lead public defender, that's the Ann I was talking about earlier, said her team still lacks a number of those videos, some of which may include evidence that could help her client's defense. 2 Moscow police officers who were integral in the investigation testified, one last week and one today, that they were each unaware where the missing footage may be. I need to know where those videos are, Taylor said Thursday. They've been collected, but nobody can tell me where. Among other pieces of evidence, Kohberger's defense said they're still due from prosecutors are some highly technical cell phone tower data and reports, missing work product from Moscow police detectives and FBI investigators, and all other information that the state relied upon for each affidavit used to justify all warrants. That's like a big one, Judge quipped. Some of the defense discovery requests are for records that either don't exist or that the prosecution is still working to retrieve, including from the FBI, Jennings said. The state will deliver everything that prosecutors are required to provide to the defense under Idaho criminal rules and court precedents, she said. We can't give over what we don't have, Jennings told the court. Well, I have something to say about not giving over something you don't have. So at least here in Massachusetts, the rules, and there is precedent for this, that if it was collected for evidence, whether you have it or don't have it, whether the lab has it or doesn't have it, and you don't physically have it, that you still have to give it. You better go get it because it falls under the rules of evidence. So it doesn't matter if you don't physically have it in your possession. If it is something you relied upon, you have to give it to the defense. You have to. So I don't think this whole like song and dance of, well, we don't physically have it, so we can't give it to you, is going to work, because there are precedents for that. Sorry, you guys, I need to blow my nose, and I know you guys don't want to watch me do that. I think it's my allergies. Oh, you can hear me starting to get stuffed up. I'm like, I'm hoping I'm not going to get a headache next, but I think it's because I turned the AC on and it was warmer out earlier, and I didn't have the AC on, and so it was probably a boo-boo by me turning the stupid AC on. Boo-boo me, of course. Dude, my nose is just going to keep running. Need tissues. I only brought the one. God damn it. Hold on, let me get tissues. Hold on. Sorry, my nose is running like crazy. I got some tissue. There's precedent for that. There is literal precedent for, oh, well, we relied on this as evidence, but we don't have it. Well, you better go find it. You better go find it, because there is no, we don't have it. You have to provide it to the defense. There is no, well, we physically don't have it, so we can't give it to you. Either you give it or it gets thrown out. So, and it looks like they're going to be asking for some motions to suppress as soon as they get, see, this is the problem though, is getting all the evidence takes time. It takes time. So it's like, how much time? We're talking 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Like, how much time? It's already been 2 years almost. Like, at what point? I mean, usually a trial is starting right about around this time. Right around this time. So I don't know. When is it going to happen? That's best guess. Not sure. It's a fascinating case, but I feel for these families, and, you know, especially Steve, Kaylee's dad. Like, he's just been a really big advocate for all the victims and his daughter, and he's done a great job of sort of getting the word out about what happened and his frustrations. Like, if I was that parent, like, I'd have those frustrations too. I think there was a recent, let me see if I can find it, a recent thing with him. Let me see if I can find it. He's very well spoken and he knows what he wants to say. And, you know, a whatchamacallit, a gag order doesn't apply to him. The court can try to gag whoever they want, but you cannot gag these families. They can say whatever the hell they want. Let's see. Oop. Let's see. Here's one here from News Nation. Is this the most recent? June 9th. This is Court TV, maybe? It's posted 6/9, but that doesn't mean that it, happened on 6/9. All right, well, let's check this one out from Court TV. Hold on. Let me get this up here. Wow, that's loud. Hold on. Let me get rid of this other crap over here. Boop, 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 boop. All right. Share the screen here and get this up. Okay. Prepared. Come on. Okay. So sad. Such a champion, this guy, though. Let's get this on here. Let me get it bigger. Here it is right here. This.
Of the victims, lives which have been shattered, hearts that have been broken. It is way beyond tragic. Tonight, in a Court TV exclusive, Chanley Painter rides along with Kaylee's father as he pays tribute to his daughter on her birthday.
You go from, okay, they just told us that our babies, 2 of our babies are gone. At that moment, you feel so lost that you're like, okay, I have a million questions, but there's nobody to call. There's no pamphlet to read.
Then Chanley speaks in depth about the immense impact all of this has had on the family and how they are dealing with it.
You know, you replace the negative with the positive, and I've got lots of positives. I've gotten 2 grandbabies since this whole thing went down, and we're focusing on those girls, and you know, we've got work to do in the future, but just one day at a time.
Tonight, we are live from Moscow, Idaho, as the families prepare for tomorrow's court hearing in the Idaho students' murder case.
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. This hour is going to be important. It's going to be important. We cover murder.
Okay, I have to say this. Shame on you, Vinny Politan, and not for this, but for the Karen Reed saga. Okay, shame on you, Vinny. You know better. Stop it. Hope Julie put some sense into you. Stop it, Vinny. Stop. Okay? Just stop. Ridiculous. I have to say that. I just have to. Because, of course, he's got to be the goddamn host of this. For the love of God.
Murder trials a lot here at Court TV. A lot. And sometimes what gets lost in everything that happens is what's really happening.
The victims.
The loss. And in the case of what happened in Idaho, I mean, it's unspeakable. It's really unspeakable on many different levels. But to me, it always comes back to these young people, this group of young people. I look at them, it's like you're looking at the cast of Friends or something, right? That, you know.
Sure, Vinny. We don't want to hear from you. You're just talking and talking and talking, and let's get to what.
And remember how bad this situation was, but it's them that they remember and not the person who did it. This person needs to disappear when it's over and said with. They're not important. They're just a mistake that we let fall through our society's cracks, and we corrected that. And now we can, you know, really kind of assess how much we lost when we lost these children.
And we're talking about Ethan, Kaylee, Madison, and Xana. Right? This is what this story, this case, and this trial will be about. What happened to these 4?
Them back. Let's watch.
Plan today is we are going to go to a couple different locations. We're doing this Pay It Forward campaign, and we're actually driving her car. I'll never see this car as mine. She paid for it. She knew I liked Range Rovers, but I was into the diesel Range Rover. But she felt like this was a super cute car, which probably is. That's why it's hard for me to drive it. But today we'll be driving her car, and we'll be doing these Pay It Forward. I remember for months, Christy's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And you could tear it in that birthday from being a super stressful event to something that, you know that at least you're doing something to help people. You know, unfortunately, when something like this happens, you don't know what to do. Somebody knocks on your door, and it's real at that moment when the police officer does that. So then you go from, okay, they just told us that our babies, 2 of our babies are gone, and they give you a business card and tell you to, you know, call tomorrow and maybe you'll get some more details. At that moment, you feel so lost that you're like, okay, I have a million questions, but there's nobody to call.
And that's one part of law enforcement that I can't stand. It's unacceptable, right? Like, we're going to knock on your door and tell you that you've lost somebody very close to you, but here's a card. Call us tomorrow. We'll have maybe have more answers for you. That knock on the door is surreal. And usually it's usually state troopers. I remember well, my fiance died in a house fire in 2006. And there was someone else who died that I knew in that house. And that's what happened. The state police come and they knock on the door and they tell you what happened, and you get very little information. And then you don't know what to do with yourself. What do you do with yourself in that moment? What do you do? What do you say? Where are the answers? And being the kind of person that I am, of course, I want them now. I want to know now what the hell happened. How did it happen? Why did it happen? And who is responsible? And they don't usually have those answers that quickly. They honestly don't usually have any answers other than, we're very sorry for your loss. And I'll tell you, people mean well when they say, we're very sorry for your loss. But it's something that cuts like a knife every time someone says it to you. When someone passes away, every time you hear, I'm sorry, you just want to break down and cry. So if you know someone that loses someone, try to use different language or verbiage, because the I'm sorry cuts like a knife. We know you're only doing it to be kind, but we got to find a different word, because it's just a realization that you have just lost someone. And then you have to hear it over and over and over. So it just brings it back, all the emotions back. Every time someone says, I'm sorry for your loss, I'm sorry for your loss, I'm sorry for your loss. And of course, it's just meant to be kind and show compassion and sincerity. But I don't think anybody ever talks about what it really feels like when people say that. And it's like, if we don't talk about these things, how do people know not to do them? It's something that's unspoken. People just don't say like, hey, I'd rather you not say that to me, because they feel like it's rude and people are showing the sincerity. Well, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it because I've lost a lot of people close to me and I've been through it numerous times. And it slices like a knife, like into butter. That's what it feels like when someone says that. So we got to find a better way. And the police got to find a better way than knocking on people's doors and just saying, we're sorry, your loved one has been murdered or killed, or it's awful. So I know exactly what he means.
Hey, so we're at the Ramsey. Yep, Renee at Ramsey. These guys were amazing. These guys did everything to help us. So I'm glad I'm able for them. I think I'm going to go to this first window. Hello? Hi. Hey, how's it going? Nice to see you guys. We're doing a pay it forward, so your meal's going to be free. You guys helped us out with fundraising. We wanted to give back to you guys.
Oh, well, thank you.
Your establishment has been amazing.
Oh,
Thank you. Give me some. I'd give you a hug if I could.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
All right, you guys have a great day. Oh, see, they're already here. They even already had it. So I knew these were the right people. No, thank you. Like every day you wake up, you'd think like, well, I need to do something to help find this person. There's like a clue out there that needs to be found, and that's kind of how we were going at it. I remember feeling like this is exhausting. And then when we finally had a suspect, and the relief that you feel knowing that, okay, some answers will actually come and be answered. And that to me is one of the things that keeps you going and makes you, wake up every morning and know that even though you're hurting, there's gonna be some meaning. Families realize that when a case like this big goes, a lot of times they want to label it after the person who did the atrocity. And we are doing everything, all families, we've all agreed on this, to bring up stories and the memories and the narratives of our children. So then people remember our children, and they don't just remember the person who acted out and did these things. That's the last thing we want them to just remember the killer, and then never remember the victims. My daughter used to work with you guys.
Okay.
Kaylee Gonzalez. We're gonna go have a dinner. We're gonna hang out at the swimming pool. Our family's coming over, do a little barbecue.
Later.
Thank you. Have a great day. we felt like we picked a really safe state, a safe community. We left the city in California where we'd be awoken in different times of the night with sirens and shootings and things. So, and then when this happened, I was like, who in Idaho would do this? Who would be capable of doing that in our community? And I remember talking to one of the officers. We've always tried to put some emphasis on saying we appreciate all the hard work, everything that they've done, and we know that we would not have justice without those men and those women. We were just in the court, a few weeks ago, and we got a little bit of time to talk to Thompson, and Thompson was, he said, it could be 3 years before you guys have any answers, and I was just like, wow, that's hard to hear. So,
What would you most like answered?
I want to just see the evidence, really. I just want them to come out and say, this is our case before, this is what they've got to prepare for. I mean, they have it, so let's just bring it out. I don't understand how that can be the truth. How can that be something that's going to contaminate a jury?
Yeah, here's we're going to start to pay it forward for.
Oh, you're awesome. People have already started.
All right, well, thank you. I'm glad they didn't have to wait. You guys have a great day. Great job. Thank you, guys. See you guys. We want to make them a part of this whole thing because it spreads the news, it spreads kindness. And, when the most ugliest things happen to you, you either can become ugly or you can spread some kindness. And that's what we're going for. And that's what, these girls would have wanted us to turn this into something that made us happy and stronger.
And Vinny, one of those coffee stands, Renee's on Ramsey, where I was live before the weather became precarious. We had to move inside now, but they gave away over 100 coffees and meals today. And they said that people were so inspired that they started donating cash as well, where they're going to be able to pay Steve back for what he donated, plus a lot more for the families. So the Gonzalez family hopes that this tradition, of course, continues every year in honor of Kaylee's birthday.
What really struck a chord with me is when Steve was talking about moving to Idaho and why he moved there. Every time my family's moved, right, you have to pack everyone up and go somewhere when you're in our business. And you're moving to a new area, you scout the area and you say, all right, where's the safest place? What's the safest street in the safest community? And I so much relate to what he did. And he did everything out of the city. And cities are fine, but he wanted to be someplace that was a little bit better, that he felt was safer, right? And to have that shattered as well is so heartbreaking. This is the dad who's trying to do everything, who did everything right, and still has to deal with this incredible heartbreak. It's unreal. It's unreal. Chanley, thanks so much for doing that. And please.
That guy's incredible. He's a rock star. And he, definitely, it doesn't just do it for Kaylee. But Maddie as well, because to him, they were both his girls, as he said. She was like family to them. I mean, that best friends are like family, so, I mean, good for Steve Gonzalez. He's a rock star for both those girls and all 4 victims. I don't know if I could do it. I don't know. I don't know how he does it. It's amazing. He did. I love that he did a pay it forward on her birthday. I think that's awesome. He's trying to make something good out of all of the bad. And I think that's all you can do, right? If you just live in the sorrow, promise you it's not fun. Been there, done that. So I think he's trying to find a way to make sense of it. And there's no sense to be made. It was a horrific crime and really for no reason. I think guys were right earlier when you guys were probably just wanted to see what it felt like, and he'd been planning it for some time. I think he had been planning it for quite a while. from all that I know about him. But I do wish that, like Steve said, the truth, why would that need to be? We don't like all of the, I get it. It's a small area, right? And so they're trying to not taint the jury, but at the same time, it's of public interest. Just lay the case out. Like, if it's the truth, what does it matter? I mean, it matters because they don't want to taint the jury pool, but at the same time, like, if you're going to pick people from a jury that know nothing about this, then what's the difference? You know, people are going to keep talking about it. It's going to keep being on the news. It's going to keep being on YouTube. It's going to keep being everywhere. So, I mean, and again, it's going to be in certain things are going to be in filings, and they're looking to toss out certain warrants. Like, we're going to hear why. Why are they trying to find what motions to suppress or toss out? Like, are they going to file and for what reasons? Like, we're going to find out one way or another. So, I mean, I think he's probably just frustrated. Like, his family and those victims deserve for their story to be told without all the extra noise, right? Without the extra noise. Let's go over real quick what happened in court today, because there were some pretty funny moments. So let me grab that real quick. Hold on.
He had a laceration over his right eye, small laceration, just under the eyebrow, correct?
Yes,
Had a laceration on his nose. Is that right?
correct.
He had pattern internal affairs at BPD are trying to get out there, correct? And you said, she's fucked.
After the day's investigation with multiple troopers conducting multiple tasks, debriefing at Canton PD amongst detectives in my office, who went through the overwhelming amount of evidence against Miss Reed that she struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle. That's what I meant by that comment.
What you meant by that comment, Trooper Proctor, was you were going to make sure, because 5051 had said she's going to skate. She's skating. When you said 0 chance she skates, she's fucked. What you meant was, I am going to make sure Ms. Reed doesn't skate. She's fucked. That's what you meant, isn't it?
Objection.
Such a stretch for him to say what you meant. What it means is there's overwhelming evidence to show Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe. So yeah, she's fucked 7 ways from Sunday. That's what he meant.
Reflected in these messages. How did you put it? It did not affect the integrity of the investigation, of your investigation, correct? That's what you
Correct.
said to the jurors.
Correct.
Do you know what the definition of integrity is?
Doing the right thing when no one's looking.
It's the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, correct?
Yes.
So in fact, your relationship with the Alberts was close enough.
Things that have, been newsworthy items that have gone to news.
Mariana?
Yes.
Is this going to be an accurate representation or an accurate copy of your notes for your interview with Juliana Nagel?
Yes.
With the court's permission, I changed my mind.
She was a whack job.
Next.
Introduced into evidence?
Correct.
Is there an objection?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the objection sustained.
Is it true that in your handwritten notes, you list the following?
No, because we did not retrieve any video from those locations.
And you didn't mention in your report that you even sought.
Trying to find the part
The
where the
footage
judge
from
calls
those
him out for being a
locations,
liar.
correct?
I don't believe so.
You did say that you would add it to the quote list. Is that right?
Yes.
And you're aware, obviously, as
It was
as one of
not long after we got in, wasn't it? Like
your handwritten
maybe
notes
20
from
minutes?
all communications, all investigative
No, it
activities involved in the case,
Maybe
correct?
after lunch.
Yes.
And you have no notes on this conversation, correct?
Correct.
Okay, hang on. I was sitting, I know exactly where I was
cut and
sitting
dry case
when I heard it. I was at my office. So
that
it
you
was
hoped
after
for wasn't really going
11:30.
your way, right?
Right, so I'm trying to figure out, it's
Sustained.
around lunchtime. It was like
When you
right after
referred
we
to-
got back, I think, for lunch or right before.
She's a
so.
whack job.
Yeah, she's a
Were you
whack job.
referring to Dr. Scortibello?
I don't recall.
Yeah,
Maybe.
would have
not.
been before because remember, I
Well, you
missed
just-
like 20 minutes right before lunch because I had a
Undetermined
phone
finding
call.
instead of a homicide finding,
Hmm.
because that was an obstacle in your investigation.
Objection.
You can break that down.
Were you displeased about the undetermined finding?
No.
Would you have rather had a determined finding that it was a homicide? At Good Sam in Brockton, did you not?
I did.
I'd like to, hour and change, an hour and 18 minutes, hour and 20 minutes earlier. Is that right? The portion of the vehicle that purported to be the passenger side was in fact the passenger side, and the vehicle.
See, I missed all of this, so it's got to be before this.
Before we were discussing Sally Port video that you watched several weeks ago. I want to make sure I'm clear about this. You indicated that the video that you watched, she kills herself, correct?
Yes.
Say, because I wasn't able to come up much after lunch until right at the very end
Timestamp was in.
because I afternoon.
I was not aware of
This
that.
is before lunch, right here.
And I was on when he
Didn't you
said
watch
it,
that-
so
that
it's
video?
got to be.
No, I
Just
think,
the other
I think,
day,
I
was
think,
reviewing
I
it.
think it was after lunch.
Mr. Jackson, we'll
I mean,
take our
I-
luncheon break.
Okay, thank you.
Here's
Hi, jurors.
the luncheon break. I'm trying to, because you can see where they go up. So what happens is like they go up and are like they do like three
Why
fucking
don't we do
sidebars,
45 minutes?
right? They do three
You
sidebars,
are muted.
and then he gets called out for being a liar. So I'm guessing maybe. I'm gonna see if it shows me like where. Smug, stupid. Okay, so Lally's back over here, so that can't be it.
Was I on? Was it you, me, and voices when he said it?
I can't remember who it was.
Yeah. Because
ago,
the sidebar
yeah.
was immediate, and I was like, she just called him a liar in front of the jury.
Yep.
So-
that happened.
Yeah.
Mr. Jackson, how are we doing on time? I'm not rushing you. I just want an idea.
Your actions went very well. I don't think I have more than perhaps 30.
So many
40
fucking
minutes,
sidebars. It's like,
Okay.
how do you tell?
Filling stations around the high school.
I don't know why Lauren Crime cut out right there either. Like, why is that? Oh, that was like the 20-minute break, right? I think it was like a 20-minute
Yeah.
break.
Yeah.
Okay, he was going over the paper at that point. They let him do that. Okay, because he said he wanted to see it. Remember this. Where's the smug smiles? Because that's
Of
what
your
we-
investigation in a homicide.
when she starts doing that stupid face. There's a sidebar. I don't think it's this early on, though.
You are
See,
unmuted.
I think it was after like 11:30 their time, but where is that on the feed?
This would have been 11 o'clock-ish.
Yeah, just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Okay, it could be there.
He asks the question, and then the judge is like, that's not the way you said you were going to ask it. Ask it the way you said you would ask it. And that was the third time that she sidebarred him for that. See, I think it's, I don't know, but either way, the judge called him a freaking liar, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant.
I'm sure Kodo's got it clipped and snipped and.
Oh, I hope so. I freaking hope so, because it was absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. Like, you fucked yourself on that one, bud. So we went through like ridiculous amount of questions about pretty much nothingness. All about like shit Proctor said privately about her fucking balloon not leaking. Like, sent this an open court. Yeah, that happened.
Trooper
Like,
Proctor,
I mean,
you've indicated that your sister is one of your best friends.
no, it's definitely after this.
Yes.
Courtney Proctor, that's her name?
After Courtney.
Correct.
Elberg?
I'm sorry?
Her last name?
Elberg.
Elberg, with an L. And you're aware that she is also very, very good friends with Jillian Daniels, Julie Albert.
Nobody cares.
The
Irrelevant.
cut and dry case
Here we go.
that you had hoped
Cut and dry
for
bullshit.
wasn't really going your way.
Again, so he's speculating on what
I'm not
other
the
troopers
I'm not an evidence officer, so I don't know how that. Yeah, so I don't know how that's generated.
So as case officer,
It's right here.
Did you find it?
lunch.
Was it right
Yeah,
before the
that's right.
break?
It looks like them, yes.
Okay.
No.
So you and Chief
Look,
Berkowitz are both toward the
there.
rear of the vehicle. He just
I mean, I
operates out
really
out
want to
of
play it,
thin
but I
air
don't
because
know how, like where the fuck it is
video
really.
is missing some footage.
Oh,
correct?
wait. Where's this look that she's giving here? This might be right before it. Maybe. This was, I think, when they got done with Proctor. Maybe.
You know, a really kind of easy way.
No, what?
Is your transcript up from your live yet?
No, I don't think so. Well, shouldn't the transcript up
where
for
Miss
this
Reed will be
then?
returning
Like, shouldn't the
from
transcript
Fairview Road.
might be up
It's
for
military
this?
time for 12:41
I would
a.m.,
hope.
correct?
Yes.
If
Yeah.
if Long Crime pays their own transcriptionists, though, if they're relying on YouTube transcriptionists,
You wrote a
then
report.
it's whatever the deadline is.
Where the hell is the
I'm sorry,
transcription
I
exactly?
earlier said November. It's actually June 1, 2022, memorializing
No.
the times.
On the chat, maybe?
Memorializing
I don't
the
know.
times
I've
that were
never
of note
gone to
you
get one.
in that ring footage.
I've
correct?
never used
Yes.
the transcript option, but
Do you recall every single entry that you made?
I'm like, oh shit. What I really found funny was
It was
At the
before
very
B. Tim came on. I know
it
that.
was-
And it was before
Yeah.
Kathy was on.
Yes, sir.
Do you see an entry?
okay, so this part over. Hold on. After Lely's on, right? Oh, there's that fucking. There it is. That smug ass look right there. I can't stand it.
So the fact that you believed personally that your narrative was she hit him with a car, you get to talk about her leaky balloon knot, right?
Objection.
I can't believe how many times this man insulted her today
You indicated
and Monday.
Right, come on.
on cross-examination
Leaky. No. I can't. I'm like a child. Like that's
that you
just.
saw a video at 8:22
This is
a.m.
his recross. It's definitely not in here.
Yeah, no.
Correct?
It's his recross,
Yes.
but
8:22 before or after 5:07 a.m.?
After.
It was a retread of cross.
yeah.
You also
just
said
want
that you had no idea where
last
Kevin
part
Albert
of it
lived, right?
Funny.
Correct.
But you did say about getting his badge to him after that drunken night with him, that you just leave it in your mailbox, right?
Objection.
Look at her face.
I'll allow it.
Yes, my mailbox.
Yeah.
She
So he
can't.
obviously knew where you lived.
Yes.
So what? He knew where you see. So he
And
knew
then
where
you
you lived. That
said-
means you're best friends now.
There's
Like,
no evidence
come on.
whatsoever, your words, no evidence whatsoever. You talked about Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Colin Albert. No
Karen,
evidence
your hair's
whatsoever
fucked up,
they were
sweetie.
involved in the death of John O'Keefe, right?
Correct.
Trooper Proctor, you're the one responsible for gathering the evidence, correct?
Not
Objection.
him. No.
right?
Not just him.
I am
Sorry.
one part of a greater group of detectives that gathers evidence. I'm just one part of that unit.
You're the pointy end of the
Right.
spear, aren't you?
Objection.
You're the case
That literally
officer,
means
the
weapon.
lead detective,
Right.
correct?
Yes.
Sort of like the fox guarding the hen house, isn't it?
Objection.
That's sustained, Mr. Jackson. Do you have anything else?
Ready? Here's where he calls her cunt.
All right, Trooper, you are all set.
No,
Thank you,
that's
Your
not
Honor.
it.
Thank you, jurors.
Maybe he did that at the very, very end of the last one, but oh my God, I was like, is he fucking serious right now? Like some of this. So we went through hours and hours of basically Jackson insinuating he was friends with whoever, Kevin Albert. Like how that has anything to do with anything. Kevin Albert had nothing to do with anything in this investigation outside of Proctor saying like, hey, can we use your fucking conference room? And like, can you get the other 2 officers from CPD to like come in at these times so we can interview them? Like that's it. Like legit.
And we also saw the shoe, and we saw
shoe.
all of the taillight pieces, and there
That
was not a single
one.
objection
Change. Now
raised
we're
by
in
the
18
defense
minutes, now we're in
saying
20
it was
minutes
illegally
early. Is that right?
obtained.
Yes.
That's right.
Did you ever seek to change or amend the error, the false statement about
This is where she
time
smiles when he says a scrivener's error.
So
received and seized in any of those documents that you filed under oath?
when I incorrectly transcribed the times, it was on the first affidavit I had written. And then as I continue
her.
to write other search
it's not a
warrants,
good
I
look.
use that as a template. So I never caught it on the first one, and that's the reason those times
That's
are
not
off
a good look.
on the other affidavits I had wrote.
She's laughing,
So the first one
smiling.
was false, and then every single one after that was false too.
There was just an incorrect transcription of time.
An incorrect transcription of the time. You
Yes.
Call that, I don't know, a Scrivener's error?
Objection.
Ask it differently.
Sure. Was it a typo?
Yes.
It was a typo. So you got the 4 wrong, you got the 1 wrong, and you got the 6 wrong. And those turned into 5 and 3 and 0, right?
Yeah.
There's a typo, sir.
As
Her
I
looking
said,
back at her family is
Mike-
not helping her.
Michael in the chat this morning literally called me //u 00026.
Sorry to tell you, Alan Grove wasn't on opioids when I was pregnant with any of my children, so you're an idiot. Come again, Troll McGee. Come again. Like, sorry to tell you, bud. It's not a thing. My daughter was born with her disease. I didn't even smoke cigarettes back then. Try again, though. Try again, though.
I didn't even see that.
Just
Fact
a
of the matter
troll.
is, you
What I find funny is like clearly it's not people who know me. It's just people who troll for Sewer Turtle. And I find it hilarious because I didn't even smoke cigarettes back then when I was pregnant with my oldest. Hadn't taken an opioid a day in my life back then. Like, so nice try, but not going to work. My daughter was born with a disease called STAT3 gain of function. It's not caused by anything. It's a genetic mutation, genius. Nice try, though.
You know, I'm actually having a very pleasant conversation on Twitter with people who are asking legitimate questions and listening to legitimate answers. Yeah.
And they're actually taking in the answer and not being like, well, the basement.
No, it's a very reasonable, very pleasant conversation. So
The
if either of those
basement.
2 people are listening, thank you. I'm enjoying the conversation.
Maybe. I mean, there's a lot of people that are watching me from X right now. Most of the people of the 145 right now are watching from X. So, I mean, possible. It's very possible. Most of them are watching from the bushes, I shall say. But, I mean, some people on X don't even know that you can comment. I actually taught somebody today, taught Michael today how to do it. And he was like, I didn't even know I could do that. And I was like, yeah. So you just click on the live, and then there's a box at the bottom. Like instead of watching it just like on your screen like that, you just click on it, right? If someone's live, it has to be the person is live. You click on it, and then there's a box at the bottom, and you can type, and the chat will pop up in my chat, and then I can put it on the screen for other people in the chat from the other places to see.
I was going to say Twitter Spaces used to be designed, looked almost exactly like, since it was a ripoff of it, Instagram.
Right.
And the chat was very obvious.
It took me.
Is that not a thing?
No,
anymore?
It's not obvious, because when you see it just on the screen, like, so say for instance, I go to my profile right now and I can see that I'm live. I can watch it just like that, right? But if you don't click on it, if you don't put your finger on it and click on it, you're never going to see the box, right? So if you just watch it and you're just watching it, you don't even know that you can do that. You got to click on the box that says I'm live, the video itself. And then there's a box that pops up at the bottom. So, I mean, again, I don't know if that works. Yeah, it works on a phone because I did it on a phone earlier. So yeah, it should be phone and computer. So I don't know. Like when I was live, I popped into Frank's live this morning and was in the chat on my phone, and I just figured out how to do this. So like plenty of people from Twitter don't even know that they can do that. Like it took me a while to figure it out too, and I'm pretty tech savvy, so I'm like, what the? They don't make it obvious. Like, come on, Elon Musk, get your shit together, bud. Like,
I didn't realize that Instagram tried to sue them. I don't remember how that ever ended up going, but they, I guess, redesigned it.
They get sued constantly.
Well, yeah, like Elon cares.
Constantly. Yeah, he doesn't give a shit. Can wipe his ass with $1,000 bills. Like, he doesn't give a shit. That's what I find funny. But I mean, yeah, we went through hours of nonsense questions like this. Proctor's text messages about how much he thinks Karen's a fucking wackadoo, and how she hit John, and how she's fucked. And Alan Jackson somehow, some way thinks that's going to prove I don't know what. It doesn't prove anything other than he runs his mouth in private like every person on planet Earth does.
And he is a sexist, ableist dickbag, and most likely an asshole. But that doesn't mean he's not good at his job.
So it's like, what did any of that, like, I'm sorry, but if this is the guy you're going to say planted the taillight and taillight ferried over and bippity boppity made that shit appear, then I want to know how, where, and what timeline he was able to do that in if I am the jury. But you've also thrown out, if you're the defense, you're throwing out Jen McCabe, Colin Albert, Brian Higgins. So which one is the third party culprit, my dude? All of them? They're all like, do you know, like, juries aren't fucking stupid, okay? And I think they think juries are fucking stupid. They're not stupid. Like, they're very smart people. They're everyday people. Some of those people happen to be very smart. Also, I forgot, I said this earlier on my live earlier today, but there was a juror that was dismissed this morning, for personal reasons. Nothing to do with anything else, but it was their own personal whatever. So that juror was dismissed. So I'm assuming they're using an alternate now.
Okay, so that's why we were so late this morning.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what happened this morning. I mean, they have alternates for that very reason. So, I mean, I just hope we don't have a Michael Chesna issue. And same judge, and she had to call a mistrial because one of the jury members refused to deliberate any further. So she had to call a mistrial. And so Michael Chesna was a police officer that was killed along with Vera Adams in Weymouth near the hospital, near Central Hospital here in Mass, by a lone gunman who literally was just firing, and like he was on like a rampage basically, and he killed the officer and a woman in her house because he was going like behind the houses and stuff across the street from the hospital. So Vera Adams was the lady's name. And so they had to do a whole nother trial, that family. I felt awful, terrible. Like, and of course, like as this judge is like saying it's a mistrial, you can see on her face, like the just utter, the sadness basically that she had to call a mistrial. I wonder if hold on, show you, because you can see like how upset she is about it. Like,
and it's Judge Canoni.
Yeah, Judge Cannoni.
Doesn't she have his sentencing tomorrow or Thursday? Isn't that is he the sentencing that she has Thursday?
Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe. Could be. Possibly.
Or is it next Thursday? It's a half day, 1 week. And
maybe
someone at Tom's this morning had mentioned that it was because Judge Cannoni has a sentencing next week.
Yeah, I mean, she does other trials, but is this it right here? She was so upset. Like, you can tell it was awful. It was just absolutely awful. It's not playing on this. Weird. Oh my God, the mother of my, oh man, these people were just, the look in her face. This is a video, but for some reason the audio is not playing where I want it to. And I mean, oh God, the look on her face was just awful. And like, she turned all red and like, it was terrible. The fact that she had to call that mistrial. Like, I felt awful for the family. For everyone, really. Like, nobody should ever have to, live through a mistrial. Hold on, let me see if this one is better. Oh, man. Oh, man. Okay.
Okay, it's next Thursday. It's next Thursday. One juror just said. Yeah, that's what one juror just said. I knew it was a Thursday and I knew it was a half day, but I didn't know if it was tomorrow or next week. So, thank you.
$6.20. Okay. So yeah, so this is all right. Ready? I'm gonna play this. This is just, you can see on her face. I mean, already, because she's right now about to tell the jury that their service is complete and she's gonna call a mistrial, and it's just awful.
Service is complete. I'm declaring a mistrial.
The jury and the defendant heard sobs in the courtroom after the judge announced a mistrial for Emmanuel Lopes, the man who's accused of killing police officer Michael Chesna and innocent bystander Vera Adams. WBZ's Ken McLeod joins us here in studio now. And Ken, the jury could not come to a unanimous decision here.
No, David, for a case where the basic facts were not really in dispute, this trial featured a lot of juror drama. Very little of it was explained publicly, with the judge calling it a, quote, sensitive matter. But today, the end result was a mistrial.
The strain was quite visible in Chesna's widow, Cindy, as day 5 of deliberations began with the judge delivering the so-called dynamite charge.
I'd ask that you pay close attention, please.
Hoping to funnel the jury toward a verdict.
Those jurors who would find the defendant not guilty should consider whether the doubt in their own minds is a reasonable one.
But within minutes, a note from the jury of 9 women and 3 men made it clear they were still hopelessly deadlocked, and the judge called them back.
Your service is complete. I'm declaring a mistrial.
Look at her face, dude. She's like, knows, like, she doesn't want to call that mistrial, but she doesn't have a choice.
Chesna's stunned family was quickly escorted from the courtroom, and a disappointed Weymouth police chief spoke outside.
No
Fuller.
Endure what this family is enduring right now.
Defendant Emmanuel Lopes had faced 11 charges stemming from a double murder in July of 2018, when prosecutors say he shot Weymouth Police Sergeant Michael Chesna to death with his own weapon, and then killed innocent bystander Vera Adams as police were trying to track Lopez down for fleeing a minor traffic accident.
This case is not about sympathy for Mr. Lopes.
During 14 days of testimony, his lawyer didn't dispute those facts, but instead argued Lopes' mental illness was to blame, and that he was in a state of oblivion that day, something prosecutors cast aside as nonsense.
We are steadfast in our resolve to bring this case to justice and seek, and we will have justice for Sergeant Chesna and Vera Adams.
Chesna's family left the courthouse without comment, knowing they'll be back. With no verdict reached, prosecutors can take Lopes to trial again with a new jury without violating his double jeopardy rights.
It's just justice delayed, that's all.
Lopes is facing the possibility of life without parole. The judge has already scheduled a session for next Friday to discuss a possible retrial date.
Yeah,
David,
that's
for
what
the
it was
Chesna
about.
family, that'll mean
Yeah,
reliving the
that's
whole
Dynamite.
nightmare yet again.
When this was played, that's what they said in the beginning of that clip that I just played, that she was giving them the dynamite charge. So they just couldn't come. Like, there was one juror that refused to deliberate anymore. That was the problem.
And then when she said, really, really think about whether or not your doubt is reasonable, that person, I would assume, got offended for being called
that's
out.
usually the instruction that that's the instruction she gives, every day before they go deliberate.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I know there was other issues with other jurors. Like, one of them, like, apparently, like, was not, like, basically lied when they said they hadn't seen it on social media or, the news. And so there was a lot of jury issues with that trial for whatever reason. I don't know why. But I mean, people were trying to, like, basically say, like, Judge Cannoni put that family through. Judge Cannoni had no choice. It is her legal duty to call a mistrial. She had no choice. Her hands were tied. That is all she could do, was call a mistrial. Like, so it's
Wait,
like
the same people who want her to call a mistrial right now?
these are I mean, what do you mean? They say she's biased and she's it's ridiculous. Like, so they were posting that clip, but it's like, you can see the angst in her face and in her words. You can clearly tell that it makes her uncomfortable to have to call that mistrial. She literally closes her eyes right after, because she knows she's about to hear the screams of the family, like, and friends of both people, like Vera Adams and Sergeant Chesna. So it's like, she had no, like, that's the legal things that she has to follow. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She can't just say, well, fuck it, keep going. Like, she's calling, they can't come to a decision. Like, they can't, somebody won't deliberate anymore. She cannot force them to. What else are you going to do? Like,
Yeah, I mean, judges have rules that they have to follow, and those rules
right.
exist for a reason. And the reason behind that is because you can't really force the jury to keep doing something that is never going to be resolved.
Right. I mean, nonetheless, they had another trial. Dude was found guilty. I mean, he's guilty of sin. That's clear. The insanity plea, in my opinion, like, his mental illness, I'm not fucking buying it. Sorry, not sorry. Like, I've worked with the criminally insane. Like, not buying it. Like, you were reckless and you fled from a traffic stop, from a minor accident, like traffic stop. Like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like, not normal. Like, I felt awful seeing that clip of her, because you can clearly tell how upset she is. So for them to sit there and try to make light of it, of like, she, like, was trying to hurt the Chesna or Vera Adams family, like, no, she had no choice. And you can clearly tell she doesn't want to. I mean, it says all over her face that she doesn't want to. Like,
I think I had heard, at least tangentially, about the original trial. I think there were a couple channels that I watched that were kind of delving into it. It wasn't one that I knew real well, so I only kind of caught it on the periphery, but that sounds really familiar.
Yeah, days and days of deliberation. Oh, for the Arizona Ranchers. I forgot about that one. Judge George. See my brain. I haven't eaten dinner yet. Judge forced to file mistrial. Now to find out jury was 11 not guilty, 1 guilty for over a week. So they were trying to get that one person to turn to not guilty. And that person who thought that he was guilty was just not budging. Like, nope, I think he's guilty. Sorry. Like, wow. See, I mean, there's always going to be a trial that shocks you. Look at Casey Anthony. Not guilty. Like,
yeah, I never, ever, ever in a million years thought that they would believe Casey Anthony over Dr. G.
No. And I'm like, okay, clearly something happened there. Like, but they had circumstantial evidence, which is kind of the problem, I think. But again, they've tried cases with less circumstantial evidence than that and been, you know what I mean? But again, it boils down to the jury. Like, and in the retrial, like the jury is made up of people of varying ages. There's more women than men, but they're of varying ages, some young, some a little bit older, and some in the middle. So it's like they have a good mix, right, of all different people. Like, so it's like the risk is always there with the jury. You never know what a jury is thinking. But what I do know is that they're not stupid, dude. Like, you can keep throwing shit at the wall to see if it sticks, but all the overwhelming evidence is what's going to stick out in their minds. You have to prove that Karen Reed didn't do anything. She doesn't have an alibi. She was there. Wait till they bring out the phone data, the key cycles. Like, all of that shit is yet to come. The ME report that was over 100 pages long. Like, the experts for Celebrite, the experts for the accident reconstruction, like, all those things are still yet to come. They've already seen the taillight. They've already seen the pictures of the taillight. They've already had countless witnesses tell the same fucking story in their perspective, right? Like, some of the things that the defense has a problem with, like calls that happened that didn't happen, or calls that like were deleted that weren't deleted because they don't know how to read the data. That shit's not gonna happen, like, for them. Like, it's going to be explained by an expert, and the expert's going to be, so I'm sorry, but if you give me the Celebrite expert, right, the guy whose software you're using to read this stuff, and then you give me their expert, and the Celebrite expert is telling me, right, that that's not true, and that they used a DB wall file to try to use a timestamp for a Google search, when really you would use it for the time you either opened or closed the tab, right? And then your expert, the other expert that's not a Celebrite expert, tells me something different. I'm going with the Celebrite expert because it's their software, right? Like, if I'm a juror, I'm going with the person who works for the software company because they clearly know how to read it better than some schmo from over here. That's just my opinion. Like, but I mean, again, we have to do voir dire with how many experts? 3 or 4 in the defense's case, because they supposedly haven't met their own experts. So how do you know they're even going to say what you want them to say based on all the evidence? Because once the prosecution brings them other evidence, do you think that they're going to change their opinion? And then you might screw your client right there, which is why the judge was like, you would have me believe that you have not talked to your experts. Like, what? What the fuck? What? Like, no.
And on the same day that David Yannetti ends up having to defend taking Lucky Laughlin to Courtney Proctor's school because, well, I can meet and interview my witnesses anywhere. Well, have you met your experts yet, Mr. Yannetti?
Bro, the fact that he went to the school where Trooper Proctor's sister works, like, shame on you. And now the trolls all over the internet, and I wanted to address this, are calling the school. Are you fucking insane? What is wrong with you people? What the hell is wrong with you people? Like, really, in reality. Like, do you ever take a look in the mirror and go, I'm calling people's works and people's this and people's that I don't even really know because I was told that they're bad? What the fuck are you doing, dude? How much time are you wasting in your life to do bad things to people you don't even fucking know? Because you were told by a sewer turtle that they're bad. Wake the fuck up, bro. You want to see a ratchet? Go back to the sewer turtle who keeps giving you false information. It's the biggest ratchet of all, bro. He has no right talking about anyone. His life is a ratchet. Like, what the fuck? It was not a chance meeting, dude. He went there on purpose and even asked for Courtney. No chance meeting. We have pictures of him there. There's no chance. He pulled into the parking lot. There's no chance. Leclerc, of course, he's the one who said it. Brainless, dude.
And why would Lucky Laughlin have been at the school anyway?
He works for the DPW, not the school. So it's like, we're talking about the same man who claimed he was watching the trial on his phone while he was sitting in the trial. Does anybody believe that? Why would you be watching the trial you're fucking sitting in? No, I fully believe he was taking pictures of the jury to dox them later, because in the Michael Chesna trial, guess who doxed a juror there? The one that wouldn't deliberate. Oh, that's right. That was Sewer Turtle. And he was proud of it. And there's clips of him saying he was proud of it because he should be. He should be. That piece of shit should be, he said. Who the fuck are you to decide? What do you think that's the narcissism flowing out of him. Like, bro, there's something wrong up here when you think you get to decide who and what everyone on planet Earth is other than yourself. Take a good look in that mirror, my dude. A good look.
When Yannetti was being interviewed by the news media anyway, Tom ran up and then ran in a circle around behind Yannetti and put himself right at Yannetti's right shoulder, between him and the media van.
I fucking can't. I can't. You need to get that shot, right? You need to get that shot. Oh, my nose.
Yeah, and then they were lecturing people again because somebody tried to give Karen a hug and a kiss.
Wasn't it Dina that like ran over to her today? Like
this morning? Yeah, well,
who are you protecting her from?
Yeah, to the car. She was talking to Jackson and Yannetti while Karen was hugging her guests for the day in the driveway.
I refuse to give those people views. I refuse. People just send me clips instead because I refuse. I won't do it. I won't fucking do it. I won't give them that. Sorry. Not doing it. Like, not fucking doing it. I can't. I don't even know how you people listen to them. I really fucking don't. My ears might bleed. Facts. Big facts. Like,
it's 5:30 in the morning. What else do I have to do?
Well, I'm not awake that early, Mom. So
It literally is just a way to kill time while I am smoking my morning cigarettes and drinking my Monster before I head to the office.
True that. Yeah. See, like some people are like, I had to pop in for a minute, but I had to go out because I couldn't do it. And I'm like, I don't know how you guys do it ever. Like, I don't know how you ever do it. Like, it's so you guys are wondrous to me. Wondrous. And I love when the trolls, mind you, the same people who are watching Tom in the glare, come here to bitch and whine about me smoking a cigarette while they watch Will chain smoke. It's the same people chain smoking outside of the courthouse. Like, I didn't know you were so involved about when I smoked a cigarette. Like, here's one for you guys. Here's one for you.
They're just so worried about your health. That's all.
Apparently. I mean, shit.
I say as a half pack a day smoker for 35 years now.
I'm down to like a half a pack now with my vape. I'm getting there. I mean, we've been here 2 hours and 20 minutes, and this is the first one I've smoked. I didn't smoke one for like an hour, I think, before that, or maybe this is the second one. Either way, I have like 2 that are missing out of my pack.
And that's not bad. I've smoked 2, and my pack is actually empty, and I need to run up to my desk to get another one.
Oh, right. So ridiculous.
I smoke way too much at night.
I think it's worse at night or when you're in the car. That one, it always makes it worse. Like, in the car or something. Like,
the car definitely, but the medication finally killed the migraine. So
good.
Yeah.
Good. I can't stand migraines. I get them once in a while. Which photo? I got lots of photos. Which one are we talking about? Forgive me, Mary. You know my brain is like tired now. So, but I mean, we listened to a whole lot of nothingness today in the retrial. That's what we did. We listened to a whole lot of bullshit tacky. That's what we fucking listened to. Like, I was waiting for the Kool-Aid guy to like burst through the wall and go, "Oh yeah," because I thought we were watching Family Guy for a minute. Balloon nuts and cunts and wackadoo. I was like, "What did I watch?"
You know what? I would not have been surprised if one of them had busted out a "respect my authority."
Like that, or like Ashton Kutcher just pops out of the back of the court and is like, "You're all being punked right now." Like, what the fuck is really going on, bro? Like, Jackson, I don't think it's gonna help you. Yeah, poop, leaking poop. Like, what the? Did you just say that, sir? Like, how did you think that was gonna help the defense in any way? Okay, he was mean privately.
Right. Ellen, I got a couple lumbar punctures too because they thought I had a CSF leak. I had a headache legitimately from the age of 35 to 45. It would only fade. It never let up entirely. But then I woke up one morning and my head didn't hurt. And I've only been getting migraines like every 8 weeks or so since then. And this is the
better
worst
than
I've had in a
before.
while.
I did say
Much
absolutely.
better. I still don't know what was causing it, but whatever it was apparently went away.
I'm like, what, dude? Like, he said, what now? Like, said that. And then the trooper's like, they're like, what did you call it? And he's like trying to think of the word to do it. Takes him like 5 minutes to think of it. And he goes, your rectum area? What's a balloon nut? He said, your rectum area. It's like, what the fuck is really going on right now? Can someone
Don't
tell
apologize to me, Ellen. God, you're still dealing with it. I was lucky and escaped it. I'm sorry for you because I know what that feels like. There were so many insults.
He
I
said
don't
it for
even
effect. He had to say it loud for effect.
is it because, as one juror said, there are potentially 10 women on this jury?
There is more women than men. There's only a few men, and we're down to like 5, I think. And again, they vary in age. So
does he really think that the emotional content of those text messages is going to sway them over the physical evidence and witness testimony and experts still to come?
apparently, I don't know. Apparently, he must. I don't know. Yeah, we get them from time to time over here. One Juror Matters. We do. We get them. Happens to. But I don't know why they waste their finger push-ups. I honestly don't. Beats the hell out of me. I mean, no, it shouldn't. It absolutely should not outweigh the actual real life evidence. What? No, it shouldn't. That's not how. That's not how it works. It's not how the court system works. Feeling your fifis aren't what matters. The evidence is what matters. Like,
I think it's kind of offensive that he expects, potentially, since it's the C word that he keeps hitting, and Crohn's disease, which affects more women than men. I think he's really underestimating women. He thinks we're all hysterical.
apparently. Like, we're all gonna be like, oh my God, that's definitely not guilty now. So, no, not the way it works, dude. I gotta look at the evidence. I need to see the evidence. I need to see it. I need to hear the experts. I need to see it. Like, that's that's how this works. Like, there were so many names, like, so fucking many. Like, yeah, he's a douche. Shocker.
He is an asshole.
He said mean things.
Indefensible, and at least from me, undefended.
Right.
I mean,
like, he said mean
he's
things.
an ass.
Yeah, I mean, he said mean things privately. All right. That does not mean she's guilty or not guilty, because he said mean things privately. That's not the way it works. I mean, they didn't give us any timeline of where or how he could have done anything at all. Like, so how the hell am I supposed to make a decision that he had anything to do with anything if the defense didn't give me any sort of timeline of how or when he could have done anything? Like, I don't. Usually a defense lays out with their questioning how he could have planted, destroyed, any of that, like any of it. And we got none of that. We got questions about balloon knots, cunts, unaliving yourself, which I take seriously. I take those comments
So do
very
I.
seriously.
That is not a joke that I tolerate at all.
Like, does that mean he's guilty of something other than being very fucking distasteful and an asshole? No, I don't see it. Like, you don't buy
I
the
have
IPG
people,
vocal swab match. Why not?
obviously.
Why wouldn't you buy the match? That went to the lab. Okay. So I'm confused.
Anyway, I have had people use that language against me directly and tell the distasteful jokes and tell me to do that and all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't convict them based on that.
No, Mary
alone.
was a juror twice. She was a juror 2 times, twice.
Now, if they put proof and evidence in front of me and witness testimony in front of me and experts in front of me who told me that those people had committed a crime, yeah, I would believe it. But just off the fact that they were dicks to me, no, because that's not illegal.
Right. Oh, God. This one. Oh, the picture of Chrissy Mel and the glare just smoking butts. But everybody's got shit to say about smoking butts. I find it fucking hilarious. Like, oh, for the love of God. Oh, I can't. Yeah, but I mean, you got to give me evidence. I need to see the evidence. I need to see it. Show me the evidence. Show it to me. Like, you can't just be like, this one's in on the conspiracy, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, if you can't actually show me any sort of conspiracy. Like, you're not showing me anything at all. Like, so how the hell am I supposed to decide anything?
And it's a conspiracy that Michael Proctor would have had to have set into motion in the middle of November.
Right.
To be able to request it off by the middle of December, to be able to have it off on January 29th.
Right.
And coordinate that with absolutely no communication, overt or otherwise, with anyone other than one text message from Jen McCabe about nothing, and his sister, and a 20-second phone call that apparently Brian Albert made to Brian Higgins. But since neither of them know Michael Proctor, I don't understand. Like Brian
Higgins knows of him. But
right.
like,
No, they know of him, but they're not like
professional
buddies. They're not like,
no.
So how did this whole big, elaborate, months-long developed plot get boiled down into a 22-second phone call at 2 a.m?
Who knows? But at the same time, we're talking about the same people who said there's taillight on top of the snow, that the interviews were all done in the same room. They were all together. They weren't separated. Both of those things a lie. Then the other hundreds of lies that we were told, like all of that was proven false. Okay. So all of that bullshit was proven false. There's zero evidence anybody committed the crime other than Karen that I've seen yet, other than speculation from the defense. And speculation from the defense is not evidence. Like, it's not evidence. You got nothing, dude. You have shown me nothing that I can believe in some vast conspiracy theory with many fucking people involved in it. Like, I can't.
Because if it's not coherent, and if the adherents to that theory can't even put together a logical, consistent theory
timeline
across all of them, how is the jury going to?
What do you mean? Peggy, Paul sits next to his wife. What do you mean? And the Erin, the sister, sits in the second row. Why does it matter where they sit? There's family in between. Doesn't really matter where they sit. I don't like. To me, it doesn't matter where they sit. They're sitting in a trial. And most of the time, Peggy sits with John's dad when John's dad's there. So.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I have noticed is that Paul and his wife have a couple of times swapped places, but it seems like everyone sits where they sit. The reeds don't move. It's just the rotating cast of characters around them.
Pretty much. And sometimes Paul's wife can't go. So sometimes it's just Paul and then the rest of the family on that side. So it's like, I don't really think it matters where they sit. Like, I wouldn't, to be honest, if it was my family, I'd want to sit with my sister. or my significant other, not my mom. No offense, but that's how I would want it specifically for my own comfort. I guess everybody has their own preferences, so it doesn't really matter who sits next to who.
But our issue would be the other way around. My brother and sister default would get to sit next to our mother because they are the oldest. And then my little sister and I would be to either side of them.
I mean, Erin sits in the back row. She
Or
sat in the
behind
front row a
them,
couple
or
times, but
behind
she
her,
sits
yeah.
in the second row. So like, they're all still there. It's a very small courtroom. I don't think it matters where they sit. Where they sit isn't indicative of anything. Like, yes, evidence, logic, reason, exactly. And it just doesn't fit a vast conspiracy. It might have in the beginning, but with all the evidence they have, it just doesn't. It just doesn't. Like, you can't sit here and tell me that everything that we were told in the beginning, which was found to be a bull-faced lie, has, like, I'm sorry, but there was no taillight on top of the snow. They weren't all interviewed together. Like, they were separated. Like, so many of the BS crap that was fed to everyone was proven to be false. There's no missing video. Like,
And see, I mean, maybe I have a slightly different perspective, not having really stepped into this until I saw the photos of the back of the car. But when you've been told something repeatedly over and over and over again for the last year and a half, you have to remember that the 15 people sitting in that box don't know any of that.
Nope.
Everything that you're so convinced is so clear because that's what you believe. The jury is not going to see it as clearly, which is why people who maybe aren't as close are able to stand back and say, wait a minute, this third party thing doesn't make any sense.
well, I mean, that would be you. That'd be your preference, Barefoot, to sit with your mom. I'd sit with my sisters because my sisters are very sensitive. Two of them are very sensitive. So I would sit with my sisters. My mom's a tough turkey. She can handle herself. And we're in the same two benches. I don't need to sit right next to her to support her. I'm there. I am supporting her. Don't need to be on top of her to support her.
Yeah, and I know what our family arrangement would be because every time we go to a baseball game together,
Bingo.
that's how we
Depends
sit.
on your mom. Yep, depends on your mom. That's your opinion. That's not the way I see it at all. So that's your opinion.
I do agree, Alara, that the investigation, at least to an outsider, does leave much to be desired. But
then when you get some of the
I have also
explanations,
never been a cop in the worst snowstorm Boston's had in 150 years.
well, it was pretty bad. Probably wasn't 78 was probably the worst, but
Okay, yeah, that was it. Worse for
78
everybody.
was pretty
Yeah, I
bad.
remember that one.
But it was a lot of snow in that area, and the state police have their own protocols of what they do and what they don't do. Every jurisdiction, every state police, every different jurisdiction has their own set of protocols. There's not like standard one across the board. They all do what's best for that sort of department. And so that is what they did. Canton PD did the best that they could. They hadn't had a homicide in like 30 plus years, like legit. So almost no one on that force had any experience with a homicide.
And
so
it sounds like there are only 3 cities in the entire Commonwealth that do not default all of their homicide investigations to the
yeah,
state police.
Springfield, Fall River, and Boston, I think.
So it's not just a matter of them being unprepared or being hicks or the state police are taking over because they know Canton doesn't know what they're doing. It's literally a law that every city except those 3 have passed that they have to.
Yeah, they take jurisdiction over any unattended deaths, homicides, shit like that. But still, the BS investigation, again, that was pushed by the defense. That was pushed by the Free Karen Read crowd. That has been said over and over and over. And there is this thing called confirmation bias where you hear something over and over and over and over and over. So then you think it's true, except a lot of the shit that we were fed about it was false. And then we got answers to why some things were done certain ways, right? Answers we didn't have before. So again, I wouldn't expect everybody to understand if you don't know anything about the law, you don't know anything about investigations work. I wouldn't expect everybody to get it, but the cops, there's also a chain of command. They have to follow orders, right? That's what they do, right? So the CPD did the best with what they had at the time for a small town that hadn't had a murder in 30 years. Like, and they weren't there a long period of time. State police took over after that. So again, you'd have to tell me that all the firefighters, all the EMTs, the children, okay, the children, okay, the children, all the cops from all the departments, and every witness had to be in on it because all their stories flow together from their own perspective. So you're going to tell me Katie Camerano and Mr. Camerano, they're in on it. The kids,
and so
they're
was
in
Paul
on it.
O'Keefe.
Right. They're all in on it. Like, do you know mathematically how improbable that is? For all of them to be in on it, no one cracked. Did anybody do the homework? Like, make a text chain with 5 people in it. Tell them something, just make something up, something salacious. And see how fast that gets out to someone else. And you expect me to believe 50, 60, 30, 40 people kept a secret for almost 2 years? Yeah, I'm not buying it. Not buying it. Sorry.
Yes, Ellen, cognitive dissonance and
that is false, BC Scanner. That is absolutely 100% false. You're right. It is over for Karen Read.
cognitive dissonance and confirmation bias.
So again,
They've
you're
got
saying
so
that
much in their ears.
the homeowners was not, so again, it's false information. The homeowner was not besties with Proctor. So again, where you get your false information matters. They weren't besties by any stretch of the imagination. Are you besties with your neighbor? Or are you an acquaintance? Do you say hi and bye when you see them once in a while? Or are you besties with them? Like, she's all done, dude. So you're right, it is done. But she's done. Like, what do you mean? What? So do I think it's a conflict of interest that Proctor's sister knew Julie, who babysat her kids? No, I don't. No, I don't.
No,
Proctor's
because
not the only state police that was working on the case. There was many other. He wasn't even at the scene for like a whole 2 days or whatever. The other officers investigated all that. So no, I don't see it as a conflict of interest.
And
Not at
as
all.
we also found out today, she never actually did it.
Right. I try to avoid the neighbors. He might have been the lead investigator, but he didn't do all the work on the case. Multiple different officers. That would have mean that all of those officers are in on it. That's not probable, or like, it's just not. Like, okay, you do that. You do that. You stop over. You do that. I'll be here when the jury reaches a verdict. And it is a very tiny town.
You've been here 6 days in a row or something, BC. You're not hearing us
Just
cry
to come in
yet?
and make smart ass comments. That's pretty much it. That's about it. To come here and report back to Sewer Turtle. That's it. Like, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ignore all the actual evidence in the case. That's what you'd have to do. You'd have to ignore all the actual evidence in order to believe some massive cover-up happened. That's what you'd have to do. And that's just like, I'm sorry, but there's so much more evidence to come that you guys haven't seen yet. So like, if I told an inmate's relative, what do you mean? Come on. You really believe for 1 second that, first of all, it was said to him? You think he was like, yeah, send me a gift? Like, it was said to him. He was being polite by being like, you know what? Give it to Elizabeth instead. Like, instead of being an asshole by being like, fucking no, don't do that. Like, Come on now. Did you really believe? First of all, he didn't ask for a gift at all. Like, so there's that. Like, I'd have a problem if he asked for one. Yeah. But someone bringing it up to be like, hey, this person wants to thank you for being the lead investigator on a case where their friend or family member died. No, I don't see a problem with that, especially since there was no gift received. He never asked for a gift. So no, I don't. I do not.
And that's what he said consistently. Never asked for one, never got one.
Nope. But I'm going to go eat dinner now because I am starving. Yeah, but again, you'd have to believe that all of these cops were in on it. And it's just improbable. So, all right. I'm starving like a hostage.
I am going to hop down and let you play your outro, and I will see you in the morning, love.
Yes, you will.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. I love you guys, and I'd love to stay forever, but I am starving like a hostage, and I want to eat my dinner. So, I love y'all, and I will see y'all tomorrow. KK for the outro.